The Mystery of Lamaso. The Sumerian civilization, one of the earliest known human civilizations, left behind a rich legacy of art, literature, and architecture. Among their many contributions, the Sumerians created a fascinating array of mythological and religious symbols, one of the most iconic being the human-headed winged bull, commonly known as the Lamasu. This imposing and enigmatic figure stands as a symbol of power, protection, and cultural identity in the ancient Mesopotamian world. The Lamasu, which can also be spelled as Lamasus in its plural form, is a composite creature that combines the body of a bull with the head of a human and the wings of an eagle. This striking combination of elements reflects the Sumerians' belief in the potency of mythological beings and their ability to transcend the boundaries between the human and divine realms. These guardian figures were typically placed at the entrances of important structures, such as palaces and temples, serving both practical and symbolic purposes. The primary role of the Lamasu was to guard and protect the sacred spaces and individuals within. The imposing stature and fierce appearance of these creatures were intended to deter potential threats, both mortal and supernatural. In addition to their defensive function, the Lamasu also served as symbols of divine protection, embodying the power and authority of the gods, and their presence at the entrance of a temple or palace was a statement of the divine sanction behind the ruler's authority, as well as a reminder of the gods' watchful eyes over the city. One of the most famous examples of the Lamasu can be found at the entrance to the ancient city of Nineveh, in what is now modern-day Iraq. The Lamasu statues guarding the entrance to the palace of King Ashurnasirpal II are monumental in scale, standing over 16 feet tall. These colossal figures were carved from limestone and intricately detailed, showcasing the remarkable craftsmanship of the ancient Assyrians, who inherited and adapted the Sumerian tradition of using Lamasu as protective guardians. The artistic details of the Lamasu reveal a blend of human and animal features, executed with precision and skill. The human head is often depicted with a serene expression, contrasting with the powerful and muscular body of the bull. The wings, resembling those of a bird of prey, add an element of dynamism and otherworldly grace to the composition. The sculptors of these figures paid meticulous attention to the intricacies of the bull's anatomy, from its cloven hooves to its rippling muscles, and the overall effect is one of strength and majesty, combined with an aura of divine authority. The symbolism inherent in the Lamasu extends beyond its physical appearance. The bull, in Mesopotamian culture, was often associated with fertility, strength, and abundance. Its inclusion in the Lamasu served to reinforce the idea of protection, abundance, and the flourishing of the city or palace it guarded. The human head, on the other hand, represented intelligence, wisdom, and the divine connection between the gods and humanity. The wings were a symbol of transcendence and the ability to move between the earthly and celestial realms. Together, these elements created a powerful symbol that encapsulated the ideals and aspirations of the Sumerian and later Assyrian civilizations. Beyond their immediate protective function, Lamasu also played a significant role in the religious and cosmological beliefs of the Sumerians and Assyrians. These creatures were seen as intermediaries between the human and divine worlds, embodying the concept of liminality. They were not mere statues, but living beings infused with spiritual energy, capable of communication with the gods. Offerings and prayers were often directed towards the Lamasu, seeking their intercession and protection. And the belief in the divine nature of these guardians underscores the profound religious significance they held in ancient Mesopotamia. The legacy of the Lamasu extends far beyond their original cultural context. These guardian figures have captured the imagination of people throughout history and continue to do so today. Their imposing presence and unique blend of human and animal elements make them iconic symbols of the ancient Near East. The Lamasu has left a lasting mark on art, literature, and popular culture, influencing everything from classical sculpture to modern fantasy literature. In the realm of art, the Lamasu has inspired countless artists and sculptors over the centuries. Its combination of human and animal forms challenges artists to explore the boundaries of representation and symbolism. The Lamasu's enduring appeal lies in its ability to evoke a sense of mystery and wonder, inviting viewers to contemplate the intersections of the human and the divine. In literature, the Lamasu has made appearances in various forms, often serving as a symbol of protection or a connection to the ancient world. In fantasy literature, for example, the Lamasu has been reimagined as a powerful and benevolent creature, embodying the ideals of strength and wisdom. Its image has been adapted and incorporated into the mythologies of fictional worlds, further cementing its place in the collective imagination. The Lamasu also holds a special place in the study of archaeology and ancient history. The discovery and study of Lamasu statues and other artifacts have provided valuable insights into the beliefs, aesthetics, and social structures of the ancient Mesopotamian civilizations. These artifacts serve as windows into the past, allowing us to glimpse the cultural and religious practices of a bygone era. The mystery of Sumerian Ziggurats. The Sumerian civilization, often regarded as the cradle of human civilization, left behind an enduring legacy of achievements, including remarkable architectural structures known as ziggurats. These towering stepped pyramids, constructed over 4 millennia ago in ancient Mesopotamia, continue to captivate the imagination and curiosity of historians, archaeologists, and enthusiasts alike. The Sumerian ziggurats, with their enigmatic origins, purpose, and symbolism, remain a source of mystery and intrigue, offering a glimpse into the beliefs, technology, and social organization of one of the world's earliest advanced societies. Ziggurats were distinctive architectural marvels, primarily built in Sumerian city-states such as Ur, Uruk, Nippur, and Eridu, among others. The term ziggurat itself is derived from the Akkadian word zikratu, which means to build on a raised area. These massive structures, constructed using mud brick as the primary building material, featured a series of terraces or steps that rose to a central shrine or temple at the summit. The ziggurats varied in size, with some towering over 100 feet in height, making them dominant features of the ancient Mesopotamian landscape. One of the most famous ziggurats is the Great Ziggurat of Ur, located in modern-day Iraq. This imposing structure was dedicated to the moon god Nana, also known as Sin, and it served as the focal point of the city of Ur. The Great Ziggurat of Ur was a marvel of engineering and design, with its well-planned terraces and complex construction techniques. Its purpose, however, remains a subject of scholarly debate. The primary function of the Sumerian ziggurats is one of the most enduring mysteries surrounding these ancient structures. Various theories have been proposed, but a definitive answer remains elusive. One widely accepted hypothesis is that ziggurats served as religious centers and platforms for communication between humans and the gods. The top of the ziggurat, where a temple was often located, would have been a sacred space where priests conducted rituals, made offerings, and sought divine guidance. The ziggurats may have symbolized the cosmic order, with their stepped design representing the connection between the earthly and celestial realms. The act of ascending the ziggurat's terraces may have been seen as a symbolic journey toward the heavens, emphasizing the importance of religious devotion and ritual in Sumerian society. The ziggurat's association with specific deities, such as the aforementioned Great Ziggurat of Ur, dedicated to Nana, suggests a close connection between these structures and the pantheon of gods in the Sumerian belief system. Another theory posits that ziggurats had practical functions, such as serving as administrative and economic centers. These structures could have housed government offices, storage facilities, and workshops. The elevated location of ziggurats would have made them ideal for monitoring agricultural activities, trade routes, and city defenses. The ziggurat's role as a center of economic and political power would have complemented its religious significance, reinforcing the intertwined nature of religion, politics, and economics in ancient Sumer. The construction methods used to build ziggurats remain a testament to the engineering prowess of the Sumerians. Mud brick, the primary building material, was readily available in the region, but the Sumerians employed sophisticated techniques to ensure the durability and stability of these structures. The use of kiln-baked bricks in the core of the ziggurats, covered with a layer of sun-dried mud brick, provided strength and resilience against the elements. The stepped design helped distribute the weight of the structure evenly and prevented collapse due to settling or shifting of the ground. The construction of ziggurats also required a significant labor force, including skilled artisans, laborers, and architects, And the logistics of organizing such a workforce for extended periods suggest a high level of social organization and centralized authority in Sumerian city-states. The construction process itself may have been a communal effort, reinforcing the sense of identity and purpose among the Sumerian population. The symbolism of the Ziggurats extended beyond their function as architectural marvels, and these structures embodied the Sumerians' worldview, reflecting their understanding of the relationship between humanity, the gods, and the cosmos. The Ziggurats' connection to the heavens, and their role as intermediaries between the earthly and divine realms, underlined the Sumerians' deeply spiritual and cosmological beliefs. The enigma of the Sumerian Ziggurats deepens when we consider their decline and eventual abandonment. Over time, many Ziggurats fell into disrepair, and some were even dismantled or repurposed for other construction projects, and the reasons for this decline are not entirely clear, but changing political and religious dynamics, as well as shifts in economic priorities, may have played a role. The eventual abandonment of these once vital structures has left archaeologists with the challenge of deciphering their history and significance. Excavations and research continue to uncover new insights into the world of the Sumerians, shedding light on the mysteries surrounding the Ziggurats and their place in ancient Mesopotamian society. The mysterious Phobos 2 photograph. In the annals of space exploration, few mysteries are as tantalizing as the Russian Mars probe Phobos 2 and its enigmatic encounter with an unidentified object above the Martian surface. While mainstream science and space agencies often approach UFO phenomena with skepticism, there are instances that defy easy explanation, such as the unexplained incident involving Phobos 2. Phobos 2, the second of two Soviet spacecraft sent to explore Mars's moon Phobos, embarked on its journey in July 1988. The mission's primary objective was to study the Martian moon, its surface, and its unique gravitational properties, among other scientific goals. However, as with many space missions, the unexpected can often be more fascinating than the planned objectives. The most remarkable and puzzling aspect of the Phobos 2 mission occurred on March 27, 1989, just months before the spacecraft's sudden loss of contact. On this day, as Phobos 2 approached Mars, it captured a series of images that included a peculiar cigar-shaped object hovering above the Martian surface. These images have since become a focal point for UFO enthusiasts and researchers alike, igniting debates and discussions about their origin and nature. The images captured by Phobos 2 show a long cylindrical object casting a distinct shadow on the Martian surface. The object's apparent size and shape are unlike any natural celestial body or spacecraft, leading to speculations about its possible advanced origin. While skeptics have proposed various explanations, including camera glitches or image artifacts, the object's anomalous features remain challenging to dismiss entirely. Several hypotheses have been put forth to explain the unidentified object captured by Phobos 2. Skeptics argue that the object may be a result of a technical malfunction in the spacecraft's imaging system. However, the likelihood of such a precise and coherent image resulting from a malfunction is debatable. A more provocative theory proposes that the object is an advanced spacecraft, potentially monitoring Phobos 2's mission or conducting its own reconnaissance of the Martian moon. The cigar-shaped design and the object's positioning in space align with the classic depictions of UFO sightings. The encounter between Phobos 2 and the unidentified object above Mars raises significant questions and implications. If the object indeed represents an extraterrestrial craft, it would provide compelling evidence for the existence of intelligent life beyond Earth. The implications for humanity's understanding of the universe would be profound. The incident highlights the secrecy often associated with space exploration missions, especially during the Cold War era. Governments and space agencies may have concealed information about UFO encounters to avoid panic or maintain national security. The encounter underscores the importance of continued exploration of Mars and other celestial bodies. While some may view it as a reason to dismiss UFO phenomena, it should instead encourage further scientific investigation into unexplained events. The mysterious Cash Landrum incident. After their visit, Vicky Landrum, accompanied by her grandson Colby and her friend Betty Cash, began their journey back to Dayton in Texas. However, Their ordinary evening quickly transformed into a harrowing experience when they reached Huffman. The events that unfolded were both astonishing and terrifying, leaving a lasting impact on their lives. The road they traversed was known for its exceptional isolation, primarily serving as a connection between the small towns it passes through. Despite being just 30 miles away from the bustling metropolis of Houston, one could journey along this road without encountering another soul. The lack of human presence along this route is truly remarkable, attracting only the occasional resident of the towns it links. Its remoteness grants a sense of solitude and tranquility, allowing travelers to immerse themselves in the picturesque surroundings without distraction. On their journey down the desolate highway, a half hour had passed when an unusual and captivating sight caught the attention of all three travelers. It was a peculiar and radiant blue diamond that seemed to descend from above, gracefully slicing through the sky. As it reached a lower altitude, it hovered effortlessly at the level of the surrounding trees, gliding steadily over the lush foliage that adorned the sides of the road. As the unidentified flying object traversed the expanse of the sky, a sudden eruption of intense flames emanated from its underside, resembling fiery cones. Each eruption propelled the enigmatic craft upward, seemingly effortlessly floating as it observed the terrain below. Progressing steadily, the hope of evading the object drove them forward until, to their dismay, it descended onto the road ahead, obstructing their path and compelling Betty to abruptly hit the brakes. This unexpected encounter immobilized them, enveloping the atmosphere with an air of uncertainty and curiosity as they pondered the nature and intentions of this peculiar phenomenon. All three individuals were filled with a profound sense of wonder as they gazed upon the dazzling and gem-like spacecraft positioned before them. However, as time passed, Colby's initial amazement gradually transformed into a growing sense of fear and apprehension. Both women decided to step out of the vehicle to further investigate the extraordinary sight. Betty eagerly approached the front of the car in order to gain a closer and more detailed view, while Vicky chose to return to her seat momentarily, perhaps needing a moment to gather her thoughts. Despite the scorching heat scalding her face, Betty found herself unable to avert her gaze from the mysterious object. The entire vicinity seemed to be bathed in a luminous glow emanating from the craft, as if it were daylight. The outer surface of the object appeared to be made of a lackluster aluminum, with its shape characterized by blunt edges. Within the middle of the craft, several blue lights flickered intermittently, creating an enigmatic spectacle. Accompanying the craft's descent, a distinct beeping sound resonated through the air, further deepening the sense of intrigue and fascination. When the car started to ascend, the woman finally made her way towards it. However, at that point, the car door had become scorching hot. It was impossible for her to touch it directly, so she had to improvise by wrapping her jacket around her hand as protection. Only then was she able to successfully open the door and gain access to the interior. Upon hearing the sound of helicopters, specifically large military ones, emanating from various directions, Betty later recounted that they seemed to be attempting to surround the peculiar object being observed. However, within a matter of seconds, the enigmatic craft, which possessed a distinctive diamond shape, began to ascend above the encompassing trees. Persistently trailing behind, the helicopters gradually receded, leaving the three witnesses filled with fear and bewilderment, stranded on the deserted stretch of highway that had fallen into an unsettling silence. It was an extraordinary sight that would forever remain etched in their memories. After activating the air conditioning system to lower the temperature inside the vehicle, Betty embarked on her journey homeward. Every now and then, she caught sight of a UFO lingering in the distant expanse. The luminosity emanating from the unidentified flying object was so intense that it unveiled the presence of accompanying helicopters that continued to soar alongside it, making their presence known. After spending time with Vicky and Colby at Vicky's residence, Betty made her way back to her own house. Little did they know that within a matter of hours, all three of them would start experiencing various distressing symptoms such as blisters, swelling of the neck, feeling sick, and even loss of consciousness. Betty's condition deteriorated rapidly, and she narrowly avoided slipping into a coma, ultimately ending up at Houston Parkway Hospital. As if her health struggles weren't enough, Betty also had to face the unfortunate consequence of her hair falling out in clumps, and her face swelling to such an extent that her vision was impaired. This series of events left Betty in a profoundly delicate state, necessitating immediate medical attention and care. All three individuals who had witnessed the peculiar occurrences, with Betty being the most affected, exhibited symptoms suggesting exposure to radiation. Their appearance was so alarming that numerous nurses initially mistook them for victims of severe burns. The signs of radiation exposure were evident in their physical condition and demeanor, indicating a deep impact on their well-being. Although the individuals involved eventually managed to overcome the traumatic incident, they continued to face ongoing challenges with the emergence of unexpected blister-like formations on their skin. Whatever eerie phenomenon they witnessed on that fateful evening, it left behind lasting health complications that persisted throughout their lives. Presently, Colby is still alive and has been fortunate enough to navigate the effects of this encounter. However, both Betty and Vicky, unfortunately, succumbed to their respective ailments in 1998 and 2007. This chronicle serves as a poignant reminder of the enduring impact that such anomalous incidents can have on individuals and their well-being. Several months later, specifically in April 1981, an unexpected encounter occurred in Dayton that added another layer of complexity to the already peculiar incident. As part of a strategic effort to generate publicity, a CH-47 helicopter was scheduled to touch down in Dayton, providing an opportunity for the public to observe the vehicle up close. Additionally, attendees were granted the unique chance to engage in conversation with the pilot. Sensing an opportunity to alleviate Colby's newfound anxiety towards helicopter noises, Vicky decided it would be beneficial to bring him along to this event. During his interaction with the public, the pilot made a statement asserting his prior presence in the area, which he attributed to a previous encounter with a UFO. However, Vicky, who happened to be one of the individuals involved in the mentioned incident, promptly revealed herself and narrated the injuries she had sustained during that peculiar event. Surprisingly, the pilot's demeanor abruptly transformed. He swiftly took measures to have both Vicky and Colby, presumably another person involved, removed from the scene. Moreover, the pilot adamantly refused to discuss any further details regarding their encounter with the unidentified flying object. The abrupt shift in the pilot's behavior left Vicky and Colby perplexed and excluded from the conversation. As per the visit organization's report, an additional individual who was present at the scene stepped forward to provide their account of the incident. In their statement, they confirmed witnessing the exchange that took place. Furthermore, Visit managed to locate the pilot involved in the incident, who consented to sharing information on the condition of anonymity. While the pilot did not disclose extensive details, he did acknowledge being aware of the incident as well as the injuries sustained by Vicky, Betty, and Colby. This revelation sheds further light on the events, affirming the credibility of the reported incident and the severity of the injuries sustained by the aforementioned individuals. The case at hand holds its own fascination, but what makes it even more intriguing is its connection to the United States military. It is quite surprising to discover that reports of military CH-47 helicopters being present during UFO sightings are more frequent than anticipated. This particular aspect drew the attention of investigators who meticulously examined it. Interestingly, both commercial and military airfields denied any involvement in the incident, asserting that they had not dispatched any CH-47 helicopters that evening. Furthermore, they went a step further by stating that the presence of CH-47 helicopters is not a common occurrence at their respective locations. This adds another layer of curiosity to the already perplexing situation. In addition to Vicky Landrum and Betty Cash, 3 other individuals came forward as witnesses to the sighting of the diamond-shaped craft that evening. One of them was an off-duty police officer who was accompanied by his wife, and the other was an oil field worker who was on his way back home. However, unlike Landrum and Cash, these witnesses did not pull over and exit their vehicles, which subsequently resulted in them not experiencing any sickness or injury. It is worth noting that all of these witnesses also corroborated the presence of multiple high-strength military helicopters in the vicinity. The additional testimonies from these individuals further reinforce the credibility of the incident and provide a more comprehensive understanding of the events that transpired that fateful evening. Vicky willingly agreed to participate in a hypnotic regression session with Dr. Leo Sprinkle, a renowned professor from Wyoming University, in order to delve deeper into the authenticity of her story. This comprehensive and in-depth approach aimed to thoroughly explore the details of her encounter. Following the sessions, Dr. Sprinkle became convinced of the veracity of Vicky's account, firmly believing that the unidentified craft she witnessed was indeed under intelligent control. Doubts and concerns arise among the majority of UFO researchers when considering the level of military involvement in such incidents. This subject is particularly intriguing as it delves into the comprehensive exploration of various cases. It is quite evident that those involved in the events of December 1980 are cognizant of the immense suffering endured by the individuals impacted. However, it is disheartening to note that no known effort has been made thus far to extend any form of assistance, whether in terms of financial aid or medical support. It is crucial to emphasize that there is no concrete evidence suggesting that the intention behind these incidents was to inflict harm upon any of the witnesses involved in this particular case. Despite the unfortunate mistreatment they endured subsequent to the encounter, it appears that these individuals were simply present in the wrong place at an inopportune moment. This lack of support, and the unfavorable circumstances they found themselves in, highlights the need for a more compassionate and empathetic response to their plight. Strange triangular formation. The Barents Sea, one of the shelf seas encircling the polar basin, is interconnected with the Norwegian Sea to its western side. A recent exploration on Google Earth uncovered a peculiar feature within the expanse of sea ice, a triangular cutout. It's worth noting that sea ice is a common occurrence in the Barents Sea, and a scientific study conducted in 2021 shed light on its composition. The study established that the Barents Sea predominantly consists of first-year ice and young sea ice, with an average thickness of approximately 0.5 meter. In response to the observation, the individual expressed their astonishment at encountering such a phenomenon and remarked on the absence of any other triangular cutouts in the vicinity. Interestingly, it was noted that there were no visible indications suggesting that the formation was caused by a passing ship. Furthermore, it was highlighted that there was a distinct lack of evidence leading up to the presence of this formation, which would support the notion of a ship traversing the area. This peculiar discovery has prompted further investigation and raised questions about the true origin and nature of this enigmatic triangle. Given the absence of conclusive evidence, researchers and onlookers alike are left contemplating the possibilities behind this unique occurrence. According to one individual, when examining an area like the one in question, it is logical to consider the presence of a ship as the initial point of inquiry. This particular region is often frequented by research vessels, and it is not uncommon for scientists to conduct experiments throughout this area. However, what is intriguing is the absence of any discernible trail leading to or from this peculiar triangular formation. Furthermore, the ice in this location appears to be robust and impermeable, as no other sections have been exposed to the water beneath. Consequently, the cause of this formation remains uncertain, and this enigmatic phenomenon raises several questions and invites a deeper exploration into its origin and nature. After analyzing the mysterious hole, users began pondering the possible causes behind its formation, speculating that a submarine or some other type of underwater vessel might be responsible. Subsequently, the photograph caught the attention of a group dedicated to investigating anomalies in the Arctic and Antarctic regions, leading to discussions about similar peculiarities previously encountered in these areas. While it is uncommon to come across a triangular-shaped hole of this magnitude, individuals have acknowledged the prevalence of circular anomalies in the region. Such discoveries have instigated further intrigue among experts, prompting in-depth examinations to unravel the secrets hidden within these remote icy expanses. The discoveries made in these specific areas have raised questions about their origins, particularly when they are found in isolated circumstances like the one mentioned above, where there are no apparent indications of their creation. One hypothesis put forward by a user proposes that the ice in this region weakened, causing it to collapse under its own weight and sink into the water below. According to this explanation, the triangular shape observed is merely coincidental. This theory adds an intriguing dimension to the discussion, prompting a deeper exploration of the factors contributing to these phenomena. The need to understand the causes behind these discoveries in remote locations where no obvious sources exist, invites a comprehensive analysis of various possible explanations. It has been suggested by another individual that the peculiar triangular cutout observed could possibly be attributed to the testing of either new equipment or an aircraft in the vicinity. Interestingly, just a few months ago, the United Kingdom made a public statement, raising awareness about the increasing military presence of Moscow in the Arctic, pointing out that they have been conducting tests of their latest weaponry. Since the early 2000s, there have been reports indicating their efforts to establish supremacy in the Arctic, and recently, they have been observed conducting trials of novel and extraordinary armaments throughout the region. Considering these circumstances, it raises the question of whether this unusual formation could be the result of a newly developed aircraft or submarine testing in the area. A team of scientists claim they found old wood inside the real Noah's Ark. The Dirupinar site has captivated researchers for decades due to its association with Noah's Ark, believed to be the resting place of the biblical vessel. When believers saw the photographs, they considered it as the conclusive evidence they had been seeking, affirming the presence of a boat-shaped structure nestled on this mountain. Additional images captured in the area have further fueled speculations, prompting the call for more comprehensive investigations to determine the true nature of this intriguing discovery. A group of dedicated researchers have even claimed to have found compelling proof that the remnants in question were indeed part of a colossal ancient boat, thereby strengthening the significance of this remarkable finding. During a significant press conference in Hong Kong on April 25, 2010, an extraordinary announcement was made by a collaborative team of researchers from China and Turkey. Their groundbreaking discovery revealed the presence of remnants believed to be the remarkable Noah's Ark, located atop a mountain. This awe-inspiring revelation received an overwhelming response from religious communities, who had long harbored the conviction that the Ark resided within these mountains. These findings, validated by the diligent efforts of the research team, provide tangible evidence that bolsters the beliefs of countless individuals, thus fulfilling their long-standing quest for proof. The magnitude of this discovery has sparked immense excitement and stirred a renewed sense of faith among believers worldwide. When the photographs were made public, they astounded numerous individuals due to the apparent presence of substantial wooden edifices. The release of the photographs caused a wave of surprise and intrigue among many observers. The notable presence of sizable wooden structures in the images was unexpected and raised numerous questions. One scientist in particular offered an interesting perspective on the finding, acknowledging his scientific skepticism while also acknowledging the fascinating notion that the remains of Noah's Ark might have been discovered. During the questioning session with scientists, the team confidently asserted that they had meticulously carried out all the essential experiments to arrive at their conclusion. They specifically mentioned utilizing radiocarbon dating techniques on a selection of wood samples as part of their investigative process. Yung Wing Chung, a prominent researcher, expressed his astonishment at the discovery by questioning how a ship could be found on a mountain. Drawing upon historical records, he remarked that the only documented wooden structure on Mount Ararat is associated with the biblical account of Noah's Ark. Given this information, Wing Chung strongly believes that the likelihood of this recent finding being Noah's Ark is incredibly high. As of now, he emphasized that there is no alternative explanation that can rival this possibility. According to the team's report, it is not only the researchers themselves who are convinced of their findings, but even government officials in Turkey acknowledge and endorse their conclusions regarding the discovery of Noah's Ark. Moreover, these officials have expressed their belief that the site in question indeed represents the final resting place of the historic vessel. The research team goes on to mention that they have taken additional steps to substantiate their claims. For instance, they acquired samples of the wood found at the site and subjected them to carbon dating analysis, revealing an astonishing age of over 4,800 years. To ensure the credibility of their research, they have also extended invitations to other scientists, encouraging them to examine the findings firsthand. While the majority of experts and researchers have expressed their support for the authenticity of the discovered structure as Noah's Ark, it is worth noting that there are still skeptics who remain unconvinced. These skeptics argue that some of the tests conducted do not conclusively prove the origin of the structure. Additionally, a particular scientist has criticized the reliability of radiocarbon dating, calling for further tests to be conducted to ensure accuracy. In fact, some individuals have even questioned the credibility of the entire expedition, suggesting that it may have been staged. Despite these reservations expressed by certain scientists, the team involved in the exploration persevered with their investigations and went on to publish a research paper entitled "Exploration Team Successfully Ventures Inside 4,800-Year-Old Wooden Structures." This publication serves as a testament to the team's belief in the significance of their findings and is supported by experts in the field and Turkish officials who firmly uphold the notion that the discovered artifact is genuine. Currently, there exists a widespread belief among religious individuals that the location we are referring to serves as the ultimate resting place of Noah's Ark. Contrarily, scientists have presented intriguing arguments that strongly challenge the notion of this being the actual Ark. Nevertheless, it is important to note that scientists do not entirely dismiss certain elements of the story. Mountains, among the least explored areas on Earth, have become a captivating subject for people with varied interests. Some are driven to conquer these magnificent natural structures, while others are fascinated by the mysteries that lie atop them. Recently, underwater archaeologists have made fascinating discoveries that strongly indicate the submergence of numerous cities. One particular find, located off the shores of Turkey, has revealed remnants of ancient civilizations dating back to the time of Noah. What makes this even more captivating is the existence of various accounts from different civilizations that mention a significant deluge, with some even having written records detailing the event. It is worth noting that certain scientists do not dispute the occurrence of such an event, yet they propose that its scale may have been slightly exaggerated. For instance, one theory suggests that the so-called Great Flood could have been the result of the inundation of the Black Sea, as historical evidence indicates a rise in water levels in that region roughly 7,000 years ago. It is important to emphasize that scientists acknowledge the occurrence of a cataclysmic event that caused the submersion of cities, as numerous ancient underwater cities have been unearthed in recent times. However, the exact magnitude of this event remains a subject of debate among experts. The anomaly in question had caught the attention of not only the general public, but even the Central Intelligence Agency itself. A thorough investigation was carried out by the agency, leaving no stone unturned in their quest to uncover the truth behind this mysterious object. The aforementioned document, titled Noah's Ark and Mount Ararat, sheds light on the CIA's involvement in investigating the enigmatic structures and their potential connection to the authenticity of the Bible. The classified files, amassed over a span of 2 decades, provide substantial evidence of the Ararat anomaly being subjected to extensive scrutiny by the intelligence agency. This intriguing revelation came to the forefront when Professor Porcher Taylor initiated a Freedom of Information Act request in 2006, resulting in the gathering of these compelling documents. Unveiling the in-depth nature of the CIA's involvement, the disclosed materials indicate a remarkable level of dedication and secrecy. With the CIA's case file being described as thick, it becomes evident that this was not a mere cursory examination. Moreover, the sheer number of confidential photographs taken over the course of 20 years emphasizes the significance of the investigation, fueling speculation and curiosity surrounding this enigma. In a conversation, he expressed a renewed sense of hope in his ongoing endeavor to persuade the intelligence community to declassify certain highly conclusive imagery. He fondly refers to this undertaking as his satellite archaeology project. His belief remains steadfast that if these images reveal the existence of man-made and possibly maritime structures, it could have monumental significance in the historical and biblical context. With a comprehensive understanding of the subject matter, he is driven to explore the depths of this research, delving into its intricacies and providing valuable insights. The Central Intelligence Agency, despite public skepticism, has asserted that the recently discovered phenomenon is not noteworthy and urges the public to have faith in their statements. According to them, the newly uncovered data merely indicates the presence of glacial ice beneath more recently accumulated layers of ice and snow. Numerous additional photographs depicting the area have been captured, thereby bolstering conjectures that further exploration is imperative to ascertain the true nature of this enigmatic phenomenon. It is reported that Mount Ararat is host to several potential locations where remnants of the structure are believed to exist, prompting speculations that there might have been multiple vessels. The underlying notion behind these assertions is that proponents hold steadfast in their belief that the vessel could have persevered atop the mountain, with certain hypotheses proposing that the climatic conditions played a role in preserving some of its original features. These diverse hypotheses raise intriguing questions and fuel an ongoing discourse about the true identity and fate of this intriguing artifact. The mysterious disappearance of Amanda Ward Ramin. A comprehensive analysis of the case reveals that Amanda Ward Ramin, a 30-year-old woman, went missing in Springfield, Ohio on July 5, 2013. The exact location where she was last seen was the 300 block of Buxton Avenue. Amanda Lynn Ward Ramin entered this world on the 24th of February, 1983. She united in matrimony with Daniel Michael Ramin, and their marriage endured for approximately a year prior to her sudden and unexplainable vanishing. On the 5th of July in the year 2013, Amanda's whereabouts were last known by her sister in the town of Indian Lake, Ohio. During that time, she was residing at her sister's residence before she decided to make her way back to her own house in Springfield. Her husband shared this residence with her, and it can be found on Avondale Avenue. On the 6th of July in the year 2013, Amanda took the initiative to reach out to her sister through a phone call. On the fateful day of July 7th, 2013, Amanda disappeared without a trace, leaving behind an air of uncertainty. It was in the quiet and unassuming neighborhood of the 300 block of Buxton Avenue in Springfield, Ohio, that Amanda was last spotted, before vanishing. On the 9th of August in the year 2013, the family of the individual in question took the necessary step of reporting her as missing to the Springfield Police Department. Since the year 2013, numerous search parties have been organized, and countless leads have been pursued in an effort to find her, but unfortunately, her whereabouts continue to remain a mystery. Daniel Michael Ramin, the spouse of Amanda, has been identified by authorities as a person of interest in her mysterious vanishing. This investigation has shed light on their tumultuous relationship. In January 2015, when the investigation was in full swing, Daniel Michael Ramin displayed a lack of cooperation, hindering the progress of the inquiry. As a result of his uncooperative behavior, law enforcement authorities decided to conduct a thorough search of his background. There are strong suspicions of foul play in the disappearance of Amanda Ramin. Despite ongoing efforts, her case remains unsolved. The disappearance of Diono Denby. Diono Denby, a 56-year-old individual, went missing in Detroit, Michigan on April 27, 2019. His last known whereabouts were at his residence, situated in the block of Carmen. This incident has raised concerns regarding Mr. Denby's well-being and safety. During the period of his unexplained absence, Diono was in the midst of relocating from his residence situated on Carmen Street, which is located on the east side of Detroit. In his quest for assistance, he sought the aid of Capri Williamson, the mother of his daughter. However, despite her efforts to contact him, she was unable to reach him. Determined to find answers, she decided to visit his residence. To her surprise, his son revealed that he had already vacated the premises. Capri recounted her persistent attempts to reach someone, endlessly calling but to no avail. Eventually, she decided to personally visit the individual's location, where she had a conversation with their son. To her surprise, the son revealed that the person she was trying to contact had actually relocated. Capri immediately expressed her disbelief, as she had no involvement in their move and had not encountered them since. During the period when his daughter Diamond was pursuing her studies overseas, her father went missing without any trace. When Diamond finally arrived back home, to her dismay, her father was nowhere to be found. Diono Denby, an individual from Detroit, Michigan, was last sighted at his residential address on April 27, 2019, approximately at noon. Following a prolonged absence of communication from him, his concerned family decided to take action and reached out to the authorities for a welfare check. Consequently, the The case of his disappearance was officially reported to the Detroit Police Department, marking a critical turning point in the search for his whereabouts. In late 2019, Diono's phone was unexpectedly disconnected, adding to the mystery surrounding his disappearance. Curiously, his family remains unsure as to why his phone remained active for an extended period after he went missing. According to his family and friends, it is highly unusual for him to disappear without maintaining any form of communication. This behavior goes against his typical character. According to law enforcement authorities, Denby has been confirmed to be in good health. However, limited information is currently accessible regarding the specifics of his case. The whereabouts of Diono Denby and the details surrounding his disappearance continue to be a mystery. Despite ongoing efforts and investigations, his case remains unsolved. The Mystery of Azob Basu. In the year 1931, near Marrakesh, Morocco, an individual with striking similarities to a Neanderthal was discovered. Resembling our ancient ancestors, this individual possessed a sloping forehead, a prominent lower jaw, and robust brow ridges. Living in a cave, he relied on sticks and stones to gather plants and hunt animals, leading a primitive lifestyle. Referred to as Azob Basu, his discovery garnered global attention. Before being photographed, he had to be clothed as it was reported that he did not wear any on a day-to-day basis. However, once the filming was over, he eagerly discarded the unnecessary items. Azob Basu, a mysterious individual, resided in the Dades Valley. He made his home in a cave and sustained himself solely on a diet of plants and raw food, lacking the knowledge of harnessing fire. Those who interacted with him reported that his communication skills were quite limited, often resorting to expressing himself through various emotional sounds. Along with his roughly defined facial features, his arms were exceptionally long, reaching his knees, and he possessed flat feet. In the 20th century, scientists conceptualized Neanderthals in this manner, leading to Azob Basu being regarded as one of our ancient ancestors. Following numerous newspaper articles, the individual gained significant fame, attracting numerous tourists who specifically traveled to Morocco to witness the recently unearthed prehistoric figure. In 1956, Jean Boulet, a writer, and Marcel Gomet, an ethnologist, embarked on a journey to examine the physical characteristics of the discovered individual and draw comparisons to Neanderthal remains. Much to their astonishment, they discovered numerous resemblances between Azob Basu and the ancient population. This revelation prompted journalists to enthusiastically produce renewed coverage about the individual in newspapers. Azob Basu would go on to make several appearances in the press. Scientists were unable to fully study the man as he passed away during the research process. According to various news outlets, Azob Basu passed away when he was 60 years old. However, due to the lack of information surrounding his birthplace and date, it is difficult to ascertain his exact age. In an effort to uncover more about this ancient man, scientists conducted a search in Morocco and eventually discovered two girls named Hissa and Herkaya, who also exhibited peculiar cranial features similar to Azob Basu. This discovery raises the question of whether Neanderthals truly inhabited Morocco. It is highly unlikely that Neanderthals persisted undiscovered in Morocco for thousands of years, considering the fact that the last known Neanderthals disappeared approximately 40,000 years ago. The demise of Neanderthals is attributed to conflicts with other ancient human populations or succumbing to cold-related diseases. In the event that Neanderthals did manage to survive alongside modern humans, they would have inevitably encountered them over time. Hissa and Herkaya, who were born to modern parents, turned out to have a condition known as microcephaly, characterized by underdeveloped brains and unusually small heads. This condition can be acquired through factors such as radiation exposure, infections, or genetic disorders. Unfortunately, there is currently no known cure for microcephaly, and medical professionals can only alleviate the symptoms of the condition. The Mystery of Conrad H. It is theorized by certain scholars that Earth may have harbored an advanced civilization in the past. However, due to unknown factors, this civilization was ultimately obliterated. This hypothesis is supported by archaeological discoveries that defy explanation when viewed through the lens of contemporary scientific understanding. Another conjecture proposes that advanced beings may have visited our planet in ancient times, imparting knowledge and advanced technologies to humanity. Consequently, it is possible that these technologies, initially deemed extraordinary, eventually endangered mankind's existence. There is a belief among certain individuals that our predecessors possessed highly advanced technologies that are beyond our comprehension today. Interestingly, it is speculated that some of our modern technologies may have been inspired or influenced by ancient civilizations, despite this knowledge being largely unknown. Concepts such as the existence of ancient flying vehicles are occasionally mentioned in ancient texts. There are claims that our ancestors not only had the ability to traverse outer space, but also possessed a remarkable understanding of the universe that surpasses our current knowledge. In 1963, Romanian engineer Doru Todoriciu conducted an examination of a 450-page manuscript housed in Sibiu's National Archive, formerly known as Hermannstadt. Todoriciu focused on the scientific and technological aspects of the manuscript and categorized it as a comprehensive exploration of artillery and ballistics challenges despite its previous recognition. It was during this examination that Todoriciu discovered the remarkable concepts on rocketry documented by Conrad H in the third section of the manuscript. The Sibiu manuscript has garnered significant attention due to its divergence from the existing historical narrative. Limited information is available about Conrad H's personal life, but it is known that he was born in Dornbach, near Vienna. Haas served as an artillery guard and commissioned officer at the Imperial Court of Vienna. It is believed that he journeyed to Transylvania alongside the imperial forces in 1551, assuming the role of chief at the Hermannstadt Arsenal's artillery camp. During the years 1529 to 1569, the author wrote the manuscript, which seems to include, among various topics, the earliest elucidation of the fundamental operational principle of the multi-stage rocket. The author discusses the clustering of rockets, the use of stabilizing fins, and the utilization of liquid fuel, while also providing descriptions and illustrations of both two-stage and three-stage rockets. The Sibiu manuscript was composed in the German language and is thought to have been based on even older texts. It provides detailed explanations of the fundamental concepts of rocket science and includes illustrations of three-stage space rockets. Additionally, the manuscript discusses the integration of fireworks with weaponry and even provides instructions on constructing a hang glider. It also outlines the process of creating fuel mixtures for use as liquid rocket propellant. Additionally, there are mentions of moon flights. As per Romanian researchers, the manuscript includes narratives about an individual who successfully reached Earth's satellite by means of an extraordinary aircraft. Furthermore, there are depictions of ancient fuel composed of rare elements. These rocket models were subsequently launched at Cape Kennedy and utilized by astronauts in the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo initiatives. It appears that the chronicler had a glimpse into the world of the future. The handwritten manuscript from Sibiu is quite extensive, spanning 450 pages. The authenticity of the Sibiu manuscript is widely acknowledged by experts who refrain from providing immediate commentary on its contents. This case might be dismissed as mere science fiction, but the discovery of other peculiar texts and technologies by Antiquity researchers suggests otherwise. Furthermore, archaeological findings of various artifacts provide concrete evidence that our ancestors possessed a level of civilization far more advanced than what contemporary historians conceive. Manuscripts like Sibiu have the power to revolutionize our understanding of history. It is still unclear whether Haas was able to effectively utilize his designs and transform them into functioning prototypes. However, there are individuals who argue that a rocket was propelled into the sky in Sibiu during the year 1550. It is widely believed that Conrad Haas was the pioneer behind the creation of this initial rocket. Haas himself claimed that he dedicated over 25 years to the development of an innovative air vehicle. The primary obstacle he encountered during this endeavor was the quest to identify a fuel source that would provide the necessary lift for the rocket to ascend. The main focus of the paper revolves around the fuel problem. In addition to the traditional constituents of saltpeter, sulfur, and coal, Haas also incorporated brandy to enhance the thrust generation of the rockets. As per his instructions, a small amount of crushed powder should be mixed with brandy to form a paste-like consistency. This paste should then be applied to the rocket chamber and the ignition hole. Haas also experimented with other fuels, selecting the specific combination based on the intended purpose of the missile. Conrad Haas, despite his involvement in designing weapons, harbored a covert belief in fundamental human principles. This humanistic inclination is prominently evident in his expression: "I recommend prioritizing peace over war, letting rifles stay untouched under shelter, preventing bullets from being fired and powder from being soaked, thus preserving the prince's wealth and the master's life." The rocket's technical attributes closely resemble those of contemporary vehicles. Its structure consisted of wooden components that were coated with a unique layer of stone powder designed to safeguard the body from combustion caused by friction with the air. It is worth noting that during the 16th century, scientists lacked comprehensive knowledge about the complexities of atmospheric phenomena, which led some to believe that advanced beings provided them with information. Throughout his early years, he dedicated himself to exploring and studying ancient texts discovered within the present-day borders of Egypt. It was believed that a lunar expedition might have occurred in 1550, however. No concrete proof exists to substantiate these assertions. The late Lady Salah Shabazz expressed her concern about the bias and exclusions often found in textbooks. She noted that in an attempt to condense historical timelines, important facts are frequently overlooked, leaving people unaware of their significance. The city of Sibiu holds significance for those familiar with the field of rocketry and modern astronautics, as it is the birthplace of Hermann Oberth, who is recognized as one of the pioneers in these areas. Moreover, the NASA archives contain a specific document that pertains to the Sibiu manuscript, demonstrating its relevance in this field. The mystery of the vampire of Koglin Grange. Vampires tend to be associated with Central and Eastern Europe, but the tiny Cumbrian village of Koglin has long boasted a homegrown vampire. This picturesque settlement, which lies between the Pennines and the River Eden, was once menaced by a beast that claimed many of the attributes of the classic vampire trope. This burning-eyed creature would stagger from a family crypt in a lonely churchyard, break into manor houses, and plunge its teeth into the necks of young women who would then have the weirdest urges to return to Koglin. The legend of the Koglin vampire recounts a peculiar story where villagers resort to desperate measures, opening up vaults in an attempt to eradicate the creature. The account of the Koglin vampire gained widespread recognition through its inclusion in the autobiography of Augustus Hare, titled Story of My Life. Hare, known as a biographer, travel writer and storyteller, believed that his life's narrative warranted a significant 6-volume publication, released in 2 installments in 1896 and 1900. Like many Victorians, Hare had an affinity for chilling ghost stories, and his books were filled with them. It was during a post-dinner conversation with Captain Fisher Rowe that Hare first heard the extraordinary tale of the Koglin vampire. Despite impressing the gathering with his own eerie stories, Hare was taken aback when Fisher Rowe responded with an even more spine-tingling account. The author, Fisher Rowe, mentioned that his family possessed a spacious residence called Koglin Grange, which had an intriguing legend connected to it. When the Fishers moved to Surrey, they decided to rent out the Grange. However, one of their tenants, a young woman, experienced an unforgettable ordeal. She encountered a vampire residing in a nearby churchyard, which set off a series of extraordinary events. Over time, there have been suggestions that the Koglin vampire story has been embellished by local folklore and enthusiastic writers. Researchers have extensively examined, disproven, and revalidated the legend, only to question it once more. There are allegations of plagiarism and influence from the numerous Gothic horror stories and sensationalized publications that were prevalent during the vampire-crazed Victorian era. Dedicated investigators have spent significant amounts of time exploring the desolate landscapes of Cumbria, interviewing residents, scouring for traces of churches, and meticulously examining historical records and property documents. The story of the Koglin vampire is quite elusive. However, Let's begin by providing a summary of the alleged events, primarily based on Augustus Hare's account, along with some additional information from other sources and local folklore in the area. According to Hare's account, Captain Fisher informs him that although Fisher may sound a very plebeian name, his family has a long and ancient lineage. They have owned a unique and intriguing property in Cumberland called Koglin Grange for many centuries. This house's notable feature is its single-story structure, which has never been altered throughout its existence. However, it boasts a terrace that overlooks spacious grounds leading towards the church in the valley, offering a picturesque distant view. Hare explains that when the Fishers became too big for Koglin Grange in terms of both family size and wealth, they made the wise decision not to alter the unique nature of the property by adding an additional floor to the house. Instead, they chose to relocate to Thorncroft near Guildford and leased out Koglin Grange. The Fishers had the good fortune of finding exceptional tenants, 2 brothers and a sister. Although Hare does not provide their names, later sources refer to them as the Cranswell family, with Edward and Michael as the brothers and Amelia as the sister. The exact time frame of their tenancy is not mentioned by Hare, but it is believed that they resided in the house sometime during the 1870s, which coincided with the Fishers' departure. The Cranswell family thoroughly enjoyed their time residing at Koglin Grange and quickly established a positive reputation in the local community. According to Hare, their less fortunate neighbours regarded them as incredibly compassionate and generous, while those of a higher social standing considered them a valuable asset to the close-knit society of the area. The Cranswells experienced a delightful winter and spring at Koglin Grange, fully enjoying the social activities in the area. Despite the Grange lacking a second floor, they found it perfectly suited to their needs. However, the summer brought an extremely hot day that rendered the brothers unable to engage in any active pursuits, forcing them to simply relax under trees and read. Amelia attempted to work on the veranda, but the intense heat made it nearly impossible to focus on her tasks. Once dinner was finished, the brothers and sisters gathered on the porch, taking pleasure in the slightly cooler evening atmosphere. They gazed at the surrounding estate, focusing on the row of trees that marked the boundary between the Grange's property and the nearby churchyard. Observing the sun setting and the moon ascending, they delighted in witnessing the complete transformation of the lawn, which was now bathed in shimmering silver light. As they took in this captivating scene, the shadows cast by the shrubbery appeared striking and defined, as if they were carefully etched into the landscape. The Cranswells retired to bed, but Amelia struggled to sleep due to the heat. Even though her windows were closed, she decided not to fasten the shutters, believing it was unnecessary in the peaceful and safe environment. Since she couldn't fall asleep, she spent the night gazing at the breathtaking beauty of the summer night. However, after a while, she observed a puzzling addition to the moonlit gardens, trees, and lawn. 2 radiant lights flickered near the row of trees by the churchyard. Amelia's attention was captivated by them, unable to look away. Gradually, the lights ceased their erratic movements among the tree trunks and began approaching the house across the lawn. Amelia couldn't help but fixate on these eerie lights, realizing that they were part of a figure that walked awkwardly and moved towards her window. Though the being was occasionally obscured by the tree shadows, the lights remained visible, drawing nearer and nearer. Amelia's heart started racing. She felt a chill running down her spine, and it became clear to her that she needed to escape. Despite the room's door being in close proximity to the window where the creature was approaching, Amelia realized that unlocking it would temporarily bring her closer to the beast. She had the urge to scream, but her throat felt immobilized, and her tongue seemed stuck to the roof of her mouth. The entity then veered off and seemed to clumsily move away from the window where Amelia was standing. Amelia got the impression that it was circling the house and had no intention of approaching her. Overcoming the fear that had rendered her immobile, Amelia quickly jumped out of bed, hurried to the door, and struggled to insert the key into the lock. However, she then heard a disturbing sound of scratching upon the window and caught sight of a repulsive brown face with blazing eyes peering in. In a panic, she retreated to the bed, but the creature persisted in its relentless scratching. Amelia, amidst the panic in her mind, had the awareness that the window was secure, diminishing the likelihood of the creature gaining access. Although the scratching noise ceased, it was soon replaced by a pecking sound. An unsettling realization washed over Amelia. The creature was meticulously removing the lead that held the window firmly in its frame. The persistent pecking continued until the pane succumbed, falling into the room and breaking into scattered diamond-like fragments upon impact with the floor. Then, with an eerie, elongated, bony finger, the creature reached in and effortlessly turned the window handle, causing it to open. The being climbed into the room and confidently walked across Amelia's space. However, her fear was so overwhelming that she couldn't utter a scream. It approached her bed and intertwined its elongated skeletal fingers into her hair, forcefully pulling her head over the edge. And then, with great force, it sank its teeth into her throat. Her scream echoed through the air, prompting her brothers to hurry towards her room. Unable to open the locked door, they frantically searched for a tool to force it open, wasting precious time while the creature continued to harm their sister. Finally, using a fireplace poker, they managed to pry the door open and rushed into the room, only to witness the beast fleeing through the window. Amelia was left unconscious, her neck wounded and bleeding profusely as she lay at the edge of the bed. While one of the brothers pursued the vampire, it swiftly traversed the lawn with remarkable strides and disappeared over the wall of the churchyard. Once Amelia regained consciousness and her initial shock diminished, she expressed her astonishment and evident distress, acknowledging that the situation was highly unusual and confusing. Amelia, known for her resolute nature and lack of belief in romantic notions or superstitions, quickly formulated an explanation for the events of that night. According to her, the most plausible scenario would be that an unstable local had managed to escape from a nearby asylum and had somehow ended up in their vicinity. Amelia's injury has now healed, and it seems that she is gradually recovering from the emotional distress caused by her ordeal. Nevertheless, her doctor strongly advises that, in order to achieve a full recovery, she should seek a change of environment. Consequently, her brothers accompanied her to Switzerland, where they engaged in the typical activities enjoyed by serious Victorian travellers, like mountain climbing, collecting and preserving plants, and sketching. However, as autumn approached, Amelia increasingly expressed her desire to return to Koglin Grange. Amelia's brothers were also missing their life at Koglin, so they agreed to her suggestion, and the three headed back. As Koglin Grange had only one story, it was difficult to make their living arrangements more secure. Amelia occupied her former bedroom, but always closed the shutters at night. As was typical for many old houses, though, the shutters left the top of the window pane uncovered. The brothers now shared a room opposite Amelia's and kept loaded pistols by their bedsides. The Grange provided a peaceful and enjoyable winter for the siblings. However, one spring night, Amelia was awakened by a familiar and ominous sound, a scratching at the window. Looking up, she was confronted by the same withered face she had seen the previous summer, peering down with its fiery eyes. Overwhelmed with fear, Amelia screamed, prompting her brothers to swiftly rise from their beds and rush outside, armed with pistols. The creature hastily darted across the lawn, its awkward stride betraying its injury from a bullet lodged in its leg. Although limping, it managed to evade capture by scrambling over the wall of the nearby churchyard. In the darkness, one of the brothers, in pursuit of the vampire, caught a glimpse of it disappearing into a long-abandoned crypt. The next day, the siblings informed the occupants of Koglin Grange about the incident that occurred the previous night. They gathered a group of men to investigate the underground chamber. Upon breaking open the doors, they were met with the unsettling sight of broken coffins and remains scattered across the floor. Among the wreckage, only one coffin remained relatively intact, with its lid resting loosely on top, detached from the rest of the structure. With cautious anticipation, the siblings lifted the lid, revealing a desiccated, mummified creature bearing a striking resemblance to the one they had pursued. The vampire's leg bore a noticeable wound. The individuals who may have been the brothers were aware of the only method to silence a vampire. They removed the repulsive vampire from the underground chamber with the purpose of setting it on fire. According to local beliefs, they supposedly guided the vampire towards a holly tree in the churchyard, as holly was believed to have a beneficial effect in such a situation. It was there that it was burned, resulting in an end to the Koglin vampires' atrocities. Even today, you can observe the remnants of the holly tree in Koglin churchyard. The mysterious Amamongo. Nestled amidst the lush rainforests and picturesque landscapes of the Philippines, a creature of folklore and intrigue known as the Amamongo has long captured the imaginations of locals and visitors alike. Described as a humanoid monkey or ape-like creature, the Amamongo is said to roam the remote and uncharted regions of the archipelago, leaving a trail of fascination and fear in its wake. The Amamongo, also known as the Capre and Agta, is deeply entrenched in Philippine folklore and mythology. The creature's origins can be traced back to pre-colonial times, when traditions and storytelling were the primary means of passing down cultural knowledge. Tales of the Amamongo have been passed from generation to generation, gaining momentum and complexity over the centuries. The Amamongo is typically described as a towering, hairy, ape-like creature, often standing over 7 feet tall. Its large red eyes are said to glow in the darkness, adding to its eerie and menacing appearance. The creature is believed to possess immense strength and agility, enabling it to traverse the dense forests and rugged terrains with ease. Numerous eyewitness accounts of encounters with the Amamongo have emerged from various regions of the Philippines, particularly in the provinces of Capiz, Antique, and Iloilo. Local residents and farmers have claimed to catch glimpses of the creature amid the dense foliage or while tending to their crops late at night. These sightings have sparked curiosity and fear among the communities, fueling the enduring belief in the existence of the Amamongo. The Amamongo holds a significant place in Philippine culture, as it embodies the country's rich tradition of storytelling and belief in supernatural entities. Many Filipinos have grown up hearing stories of the Amamongo from their grandparents or elders, instilling a sense of wonder and caution about the mysterious world that lies beyond human comprehension. The origins of the Amamongo legend can be linked to various cultural and historical influences. Some researchers suggest that the tales of the Amamongo could have emerged as a way to explain unexplained phenomena in the dense forests, such as strange noises or mysterious disappearances. Additionally, the legends may have been influenced by the encounters with large primates or other indigenous creatures that were unfamiliar to the local communities. The concept of humanoid ape-like creatures exists in many cultures around the world. While the specific physical descriptions and characteristics vary, the underlying theme of these creatures being elusive, mysterious, and supernatural in nature is consistent. The parallels between the Amamongo and other cryptids provide a fascinating insight into the shared human fascination with the unknown and the unexplained. As modernization and urbanization sweep through the Philippines, the stories of the Amamongo face challenges in retaining their traditional significance. Some researchers argue that the spread of scientific knowledge and skepticism has led to a decline in belief in such cryptids. However, the Amamongo remains a cultural symbol that continues to be celebrated in festivals, literature, and local art. It's difficult to give an exact number of caves in the Grand Canyon, as new caves are still being discovered and the number is constantly changing. However, it's estimated that there are over 1,000 known caves within the Grand Canyon National Park boundaries. These caves vary in size and shape, and many of them are not accessible to the public due to safety concerns or to protect the delicate cave ecosystems. Various interesting discoveries are said to have been made at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It's due to the vast, largely unexplored caves. There's been whispers that the area is holding many secrets, with one of the lesser-known ones being that the area may have once been the home of an underground ancient civilization, with those who explored the area saying that artifacts were found and that they belonged to the ancient Egyptians. This interesting story starts in 1909, when an explorer by the name of G.E. Kincaid found a variety of strange artifacts while exploring the Grand Canyon. He was sent there by the Smithsonian Institution, saying that he was told to explore the large caverns that were covered by a large entrance that was almost inaccessible. The team was led by Smithsonian anthropologist S.A. Jordan, but it was Kincaid who had allegedly made the discovery. The team reported that once inside, they found that the caves were in the shape of a wheel, saying that once they made their way inside the caverns, they found various artifacts, including copper artifacts and statues. The team also reported that the area was so big that it could have been inhabited by up to 50,000 people, noting that it was easily big enough to hold an ancient civilization. Although people living underground sounds like something from a movie, Derinkuyu is an underground city that was inhabited by people during the 8th to 7th century BC. Officials said the following about the discovery. Once the team started to look closely at the artifact, they noticed that they didn't match anything in their records, and didn't match anything that had been found in the region, most notably those of the Native Americans. These artifacts more closely resembled those that were coming out of Egypt. The big question was, how did these ancient artifacts end up in a deep cavern within the Grand Canyon, and was there an ancient Egyptian civilization that had somehow made their way here? End quote. The Smithsonian later came forward and said that the team that had been sent down into the Grand Canyon didn't find anything, and that they have no proof that anything had been found. The only reply that the Smithsonian has given about the story is saying that they didn't find anything. As of right now, skeptics have said there is no credible evidence to suggest that there is an underground Egyptian city beneath the Grand Canyon. This is a common theory that has been circulating for decades, but there is no factual basis to support it. The mysterious photograph captured inside the Grand Caverns. There's been a number of interesting photographs that have been captured in national parks. One of these was taken in the Grand Caverns in 1895 by Orrin Jeffries. There's a limited amount of information on this photograph, but the story goes that amateur photographer Orrin Jeffries was exploring an unmapped section of Grand Cavern, something that few people have done due to stories of disappearances and encountering mysterious creatures. The caverns he was exploring were located in southwestern Virginia, and in recent years there's been a variety of theories that have been put forward that suggest the caverns aren't just caverns, but could be home to underground networks. In fact, this has been backed up in recent years by hikers who have said that they discovered underground networks while exploring the area. Orrin Jeffries made his way into one of the caverns, and due to not being able to see anything, decided to conduct a photographic experiment where he would point his camera out into the darkness and take a long exposure shot. For those unaware, a long exposure technique takes advantage of slow shutter speeds, which in turn allows the user to capture the motion of a moving element or more light from a night scene. During one of these sessions, he heard something moving deep in the cave, and due to him being alone and worried, he decided to set off one of the flashes in order to see what it was. After he left the cavern, he developed the photograph and could see that he had captured what appeared to be 3 humanoid-like creatures. He then approached the local newspaper and told them that 3 humanoids could be seen looking in his direction, and that after the photograph was taken, he ran out of the cavern as fast as he could. Interestingly, when researchers later enhanced the photo, they detailed that they could see one of the creatures raising its arm, with some suggesting that the humanoid may have had something in its hand like a rock, and that had Orrin stayed just a few more moments, he may have been attacked by the creature. The mysterious disappearance of Adam Clayton Lyle Jones at the Grand Canyon. Though the investigative services branch of the law enforcement generally try to solve cases as efficiently and quickly as possible, this sadly is not always the case, and most often than not, cases tend to grow cold for months or years afterwards. These cases are not closed and remain open and may become active should new evidence surface. Kathy Cupper, one of the spokespeople for the investigative services branch, said the following: "It's always there on the table. Sometimes a tip will come in, or someone will hear something, and it will go active again." End quote. Adam Clayton Lyle Jones is one of the unfortunate missing individuals whose case has grown cold. Jones went missing on the 31st of March back in 2011 and has not yet been found. The man, who was only 23 at the time of his disappearance and would now be 33 years old, was last said to have been last seen by his family in the Gulf Breeze in Florida. His family claim he left home early in the afternoon in a blue Oldsmobile Delta 88, and that the only personal possession he took with him was his laptop, no other notable belongings. Little did Jones's family realize that would be the last time they would ever get to see him again. It took until the 5th of May 2011 for a park ranger to acknowledge the abandoned Delta 88 car parked at the South Rim Center of the Grand Canyon National Park. At the time, Jones had not yet been reported as a missing person and therefore not initially considered as a victim. The park ranger managed to contact Jones's parents about the abandoned car, who then proceeded to file the missing persons report to the police. Contents found within the car included an itinerary of various routes of California cities and places in Denver, Colorado. Surprisingly, there was not a mobile phone in the car, as Jones did not have his phone on him when he went missing. To this day, investigators have no idea whether he was lost or injured in the wilderness, or if something else, far more morbid, might have happened. Furthermore, there is no actual evidence that he even entered the Grand Canyon Park, no photographic or witness proof that he was there, apart from the car parked in the car park. With so little to go off, investigators have had a difficult time finding any clues to Adam Jones' whereabouts. Trail cameras, also known as game cameras, are outdoor surveillance cameras designed to capture photos or videos of wildlife or other outdoor activities. They are typically used by hunters, wildlife enthusiasts, and researchers to monitor wildlife populations, track animal behavior, and study the habits of various animals. Trail cameras are equipped with a memory card to store the photos and videos they capture. The memory cards can be removed and replaced to view or transfer the images to a computer or other device. They are an excellent tool for studying wildlife and gaining insights into their behavior and habitat. Every so often, though, a trail camera captures something mysterious. This happened just recently when a trail camera captured a strange-looking creature standing next to a bear. We talked with the individual who posted the photograph who wishes to stay anonymous, and they said that the image was taken in northern Utah. They explained that they couldn't figure out what the creature was, and so posted it to various pages in order to try and get an answer. All this did was cause more confusion, as people couldn't work out what it was. One user said the following: "Many trail camera photographs are hard to study, as the object in question can sometimes be at a weird angle, and this makes it hard to work out the size of the creature. However, in this image we can clearly see that it's standing next to a bear and that it measures over twice the size of it. It's really hard to figure out what type of creature this could be." End quote. Others carried on and said that due to its size and shape, it matches the overall description of a large, hairy humanoid, also pointing out that Utah has been a hotspot for these creatures, with hikers and outdoorsmen who've ventured out into the wilderness in and around Utah, saying that they've had several run-ins with these creatures. The user who posted the photograph said that they were part of a team that investigated Bigfoot sightings, and that throughout the years, the team got sent various images and videos of mysterious creatures, but noted that the majority of them could be explained. They said that this was one of the only ones that they struggled to explain. They further added that they were nervous to post the photograph as they didn't want to be ridiculed or have people think they were trying to prove the existence of Bigfoot. The poster said they just generally have no idea what this is and wanted to see if other people could explain it. Interestingly, for hundreds of years, mysterious humanoid creatures have been encountered across the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. One interesting story is that of the original Murfreesboro mud monster sighting. Considered to be one of the most peculiar sightings ever reported, the Murfreesboro mud monster was a humanoid creature that was mass-sighted and would eventually lead the police of the small town of Murfreesboro to conduct an official investigation into the beast to bring about some order to their small town. On the 25th of June, back in 1973, within the small town of Murfreesboro, Illinois, a young couple would claim to come face-to-face with a massive bipedal humanoid creature later referred to as the Murfreesboro mud monster. According to the young couple, their encounter happened sometime around midnight while they had been parked at the side of a river. The couple, a young man and young woman by the names of Randy Needham and Judy Johnson, claimed that they decided to stop their car at the end of 23rd Street, located in Riverside Park, in an area that gave them a clear view of the surface of the big muddy river. The reason for their late-night isolation was later explained by the couple as being a necessary precaution, as Judy's father had disapproved of the two dating, and so were unable to find a more public location to hang out. Although the exact time of the sighting is unknown, it's believed that the event occurred sometime between 12 to 1 in the morning, as the couple were listening to the radio and engaged in intimate action. As Judy Johnson and Randy Needham were in the middle of their interaction, the couple claimed to have heard what they described as a piercing roar, later detailed by Randy Needham as sounding somewhat similar to an eagle shrieking into a feedback microphone. The source of the sound appeared to have emanated from a nearby brush that rested only a few yards away from the vehicle near the side of the big muddy river. Scared that a large, dangerous wild animal was nearby, Randy Needham shut off the car radio while he and Judy Johnson glanced around the immediate area, looking for any signs of a creature. A few seconds later, the couple claimed that another loud shriek had been heard that was slightly similar to the first, and watched as the brushwood in front of their vehicle began to sway dramatically. Hoping to scare away the creature or to catch a better glimpse of it, Randy Needham immediately started his car and turned on the headlights. Within seconds, the creature exited from the brushwood and began rushing towards their vehicle. The couple would later describe the creature as having been a large, bipedal, ape-like creature that they would claim looked like an oversized gorilla. It walked on two legs and was estimated from a sitting position to have stood around 8 feet tall, with matted white hair and with spots of mud covering different sections of its body. As the creature walked closer to the vehicle, the couple claimed they could smell the scent of a foul, skunk-like odor. Fearing for their lives, Randy Needham immediately reversed his vehicle and drove out of the area, claiming that they narrowly escaped the monster. Once the couple made it back into the downtown area of Murfreesboro, Illinois, they entered into a heated debate on whether or not they should report the sighting to the local police. Judy Johnson at first refused to file a witness report, believing that it would lead to issues with her father, but was convinced by Randy Needham, who believed that the monster would soon attack other eyewitnesses. It would be at around 2 a.m. that the couple would decide to drive down to the Murfreesboro police station and report their sighting. Once Randy Needham and Judy Johnson arrived at the police station together, the couple immediately began filing a report with the former patrolman of the Murfreesboro police force, a man by the name of Ron Manwaring, who worked as a police chief for over several decades. According to Officer Ron Manwaring, the sighting had been described as an unknown creature sighting, with the beast having been compared to an oversized gorilla estimated to have been around 8 feet tall, with matted white hair that was streaked with mud. Although the officers were hesitant to believe the claims of the two young adults, they began to grow increasingly interested when they discovered that the couple was scared of both public ridicule and Judy's father finding out about their indiscretions. Additional reports of the Murfreesboro mud monster would be made by several police officers who were tasked with investigating the original sightings report of Randy Needham and Judy Johnson. Believing that Randy Needham and Judy Johnson were not playing a prank and had nothing to gain from the witness claims, the Murfreesboro Police Department would send 2 officers to investigate the claims further. The 2 responding officers, Merrill Lindsay and Jimmy Nash, were sent to the location of the sighting within minutes and arrived at the area of the supposed boat ramp in Riverside Park. Within a few minutes of investigating, Officer Jimmy Nash found a set of peculiar tracks that he described as being approximately 10 to 12 inches long and roughly 3 inches wide, following in a long line down the riverbank side pressed deep into the mud. However, before Officer Nash could investigate the tracks further, he would then report that he and his partner heard what they would later detail was a horrifyingly shrill screech emanating from close by. Believing that the creature was hiding in some nearby brush, waiting to attack, Officer Nash attempted to pull out his revolver, but dropped it in a panic and ran back to his police cruiser and left the scene of the sighting. When questioned about the sound, Nash claimed that the sound was the most hideous sound he had ever heard and had originated at an estimated distance of about 300 feet away from them. He said the following: "The most incredible shriek I've ever heard. It was in those bushes. It was no bobcat or screech owl. We hightailed it out of there." End quote. Officer Jimmy Nash and Officer Merrill Lindsay would return to the Murfreesboro police station, hoping to gather additional officers for backup before returning to the site. It would be at around this time that the officers would report the screech and their encounter with the unknown creature, sparking serious interest from the local law enforcement. At around 2 a.m. on the 26th of June, Officers Jimmy Nash and Merrill Lindsay would return to the area of their encounter alongside Officer Bob Scott and the original eyewitness Randy Needham. The 4 would soon discover several more tracks located near the muddy banks of the river, with impressions that appeared to originate from within the water and exit back into the water. Officer Merrill Lindsay would return to her patrol car to retrieve a camera for documenting the evidence, and the 3 others would stay in the area of the sighting, following the tracks down the riverbank. It was at around this time that the 3 men claimed to hear splashing in the river that sounded like a large creature walking in knee-deep water. Although they were unable to see anything in the water, the men would continue their search until they heard the same horrible scream that Officer Nash had reported earlier in the morning. The sudden scream caused the three men to run back to a patrol car, where they took the time to regain their composure and once again begin their search for the creature. For the next several hours, the men would claim to hear the same eerie splashing sound they believed to have been the large bipedal creature walking through the water, but would discover nothing. Their search would continue through the early morning until the sun rose. At around 7 in the morning, the group would end their search, believing that the monster had disappeared. On the 26th of June, roughly 14 hours since the end of the reported sightings of the Murfreesboro mud monster from the Murfreesboro Police Department, a 5-year-old boy by the name of Christian Barrell would claim to witness a monster with a similar description at around 10:30 in the evening. The story was so compelling and considered substantial evidence of a Sasquatch-like creature roaming the American countryside that the story would eventually be picked up by the New York Times. The sudden popularity in the town, coupled with the momentary fame of the eyewitnesses, would lead to the Murfreesboro mud monster legends becoming a solidified piece of history for the town, and would lead to the end of the hunting parties for the creature, as the residents considered the monster to be a symbolic mascot to be adored. This interesting photograph was just published to social media, but those who've seen it can't seem to agree on what it shows. The black object sticks out against the clouds and can be seen hovering close to the ground. Some users speculated that it was some sort of atmospheric phenomena, while others who allegedly saw the object said that it suddenly manifested in the sky. The reason it caught people's attention was because of how it was moving, with it reminding some of a symbiote. Most of the residents who saw the object agreed that it wasn't something like a cloud or balloon, and went on to detail that it appeared to be shape-shifting. Interestingly, these types of sightings have been given a name, and they go by atmospheric jellyfish. Individuals who have seen them have said they're unlike anything they've seen before, and that they look like giant jellyfish hovering around in the sky. This unexplained phenomena has been cited by hundreds of people across the globe, including top meteorological scientists, military bases, and cities. These strange lights or objects have confused many people, which is why many have called them mysterious flying objects. According to NASA, these objects may be the result of space debris reflecting off of the northern lights, but it's important to note that they've been observed in various countries and at different altitudes. One user said the following: "It's an atmospheric thing. I see this a lot when there's thunderstorms around. Under the right temperature and airflow conditions, you can see these strange objects form." End quote. While this user said the following: "I saw something similar to this in Texas last year while I was driving. I wasn't able to pull over and take pictures, but I remember thinking that the object looked like a jellyfish, as it appeared to have tentacle-like appendages." End quote. Interestingly, a similar incident was reported across various areas in London, with residents saying that the police turned up soon afterwards and told people to move out of the area. Many people aren't aware of this, but police have investigated mysterious aircrafts in the past. In fact, there have been several documented cases of law enforcement officers encountering strange objects and glowing lights while on duty and reporting them to their superiors. One well-known case occurred in 1966 in Portage County, Ohio, where several police officers witnessed a series of strange lights in the sky and admitted to chasing the object for over 30 minutes. Another notable case occurred in 1973 in Mansfield, Ohio, where 2 police officers reported seeing a strange aircraft hovering over a nearby field. In addition, there have been numerous cases where civilian witnesses have called the police to report sightings of mysterious objects, and officers have responded to investigate. While the police are not typically equipped to conduct in-depth investigations into these types of sightings, they may collect eyewitness testimony, take photographs or videos, and file reports with appropriate agencies such as the FAA or local research organizations. There's certainly no shortage of mysterious encounters with unknown objects. The Tangmere sighting. On the 1st of June back in 1950, a landing Royal Air Force pilot, piloting a Gloster Meteor, one of the fastest jets in the world at the time, claimed to have sighted and passed by an unidentified object that was believed to have been hovering over the Tangmere Royal Air Force Base. As the pilot was preparing his descent towards the base, he claimed that he witnessed the body of the craft shining with a bright light that surrounded its chassis, with the body of the craft rotating in a circle as it passed by his aircraft. Using his altimeter, the pilot estimated that the object must have been travelling somewhere around 20,000 feet, flying in the direction of east from the Portsmouth area. The report was later confirmed after the Royal Air Force Base Tangmere inquired to the Royal Air Force Base Wartling, found in Sussex, if they had also picked up the object on their radar equipment. According to the Wartling radar station, they claimed to have watched the craft on its PPI screen at around the same time the pilot claimed to have seen the craft, between 2:30 and 3 in the afternoon. Although a series of reports surrounding unidentified objects predated this witness account, the Tangmere sighting is often described as Britain's first flying saucer incident. Shortly following the details and confirmation of the military report, the British government would establish the Flying Saucer Working Party, the British Ministry of Defence's first official investigation into the flying saucer phenomenon. No further information surrounding the report would come forward. The William Schaffner interception. One of the strangest, mysterious aircraft incidents in history, an encounter that would result in the passing of a Royal Air Force pilot, would be reported on the 8th of September back in 1970, and lead to serious investigations made by the British Ministry of Defence following the impossible-to-explain event. According to the military reports, the Royal Air Force pilot, known as William Schaffner, was tasked with intercepting a peculiar aircraft that had first been spotted on radar by 3 different independent radar detection stations, including the Royal Air Force Base, Fylingdale's Early Radar Warning Station, the United States Air Force Thule Air Base Radar Station, located in Greenland, and the Colorado Springs Radar Base at the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado, USA. Fearing that the object was some form of unknown advanced aircraft, William Schaffner was given the order to intercept the object over the North Sea and engage in a firefight if necessary. Unfortunately for the Royal Air Force pilot, that would be the last time that William Schaffner would ever be seen. Radar detected his plane dropping from its height, and shortly thereafter, William Schaffner was unresponsive. Roughly 4 months later, the aircraft of William Schaffner would be recovered from the seabed. Oddly enough, the entire plane was relatively untouched, with the main body of the plane staying enclosed underwater. When investigators looked inside the craft to better understand what could have happened to the pilot, they quickly noticed that William was nowhere to be found within the completely enclosed aircraft. Various parts of America are said to be home to mysterious creatures, and one such area is that of North America. Back in 2014, a trail camera was placed in Mossy Rock in Lewis County, and it captured a mysterious creature. The unknown bipedal humanoid was soon given the name of the creature of Mossy Rock. A man had placed a trail camera on his property, which was said to be located out in the middle of the woods. There had been some strange sightings in the area, with the man coming forward and saying that strange noises could be heard late at night, and so he decided to set up one of these cameras in order to catch the culprit. The man who posted the image said the following: "The backstory of this image is that it was captured on a trail camera, and the guy who showed me it had been down at his friend's house in Mossy Rock. The property is out in the backwoods, and it's surrounded by nothing but deep woods." Around the same time that this picture was taken, they heard a screaming noise coming from just behind the house, which they said didn't belong to a cougar, coyote, or bear. They wanted to figure out what was causing these noises, and so set up motion-sensitive trail cameras to capture it. When checking the footage the next morning, this is what they found. It's an amazing photo, and it makes every other image I've seen look laughable in comparison. I get really annoyed when people try to argue its authenticity. These guys didn't even know how to send the picture from their computer to their phone. They don't know what Photoshop is. If this photograph is genuine, then it's easily one of the best images we have of this creature, and proves there's large bipedal humanoids roaming around in dense regions of America. One user said the following: "I've visited this area, and there's definitely something going on in these woods. I'm glad that I was with my son at the time, because otherwise no one would have believed my story." On the second night of our trip, we began to hear noises around our camp. This happened at night, so we attributed this to wildlife. However, what we couldn't explain was the loud screams that echoed through the woods. I've spent the majority of my life outdoors, but I had never heard such a noise before. It didn't match typical wildlife that you find in the area. Fast forward to the next day, me and my son decided to look around the camp in order to see if we could work out what was making those noises. All around us were huge footprints that were double the size of my boots. After making this discovery, we immediately packed up and left the area. It's an experience that I'll never forget, and when I hear these stories, I'm now a little more open-minded. Interestingly, this isn't the first time that hikers and residents within Washington have reported seeing such a creature. In fact, these sightings have become somewhat of a regular occurrence that investigators have now labeled Washington as a hotspot, and it's led hikers and investigators to go out into these areas in the hopes of finding evidence. What these creatures are, though, depends on who you ask, with scientists and anthropologists saying that you're not going to find such a creature, with them detailing that if such a creature did exist, and it was related to some great ape species or even a Neanderthal, then we would see evidence of things like bones in forests, saying that you would need a substantial number of these creatures to keep them going, and that as of right now, the evidence points towards them not being genuine. Researchers who have looked into this topic have said that this is actually helping them, and that they've said that we have to start with the process of elimination. Some of these investigators who have spent a large amount of time in these areas have said there's definitely been some interesting correlations that they've picked up on, one being that sometimes when these creatures are seen, strange lights have also been seen in the nearby area. What many people find interesting with these reports is that they aren't anything new. In fact, they can be traced back hundreds of years. Robert Robinson has said that one of the oldest known sightings of a creature fitting the description of the skunk ape took place in the early 1800s, with reports of other large humanoid creatures going back even further. The first reported sightings were by Native Americans, and since then, it's been suggested that there's different kinds. According to the reports, a group of sailors landed north of the Gulf of Mexico. As they had pulled into the bay, they claimed to have spotted a creature covered in hair from head to toe and appeared similar to a 5-foot-tall baboon. The encounter was recorded back in 1818, but sightings of baboons the size of men would continue to be reported throughout the area until the mid-1800s. The descriptions of the creature's odor are often conflicting, with many eyewitness reports claiming that the smell is impossible to compare to any other known smell. Some witnesses have claimed that the smell of the creature was similar to a swampy fish smell, with a mixture of rotten fish and eggs. An even smaller number of witnesses have claimed that the creature gives off a somewhat chemical smell, comparing it to hydrogen sulfide, methane, or swamp gas. While some testimonies have said that the creature suffers from an odor that is more akin to a wet dog. More commonly, however, the odor of the creature is reportedly exactly similar to that of a skunk, which is where the creature derives its name. The physical descriptions of the creature are far more consistent, with claims that the skunk ape is humanoid in shape, but without a defined neck, leaving its head resting flat on its shoulders. The creature has a human-like face. Fur covering its body except for its face and palms, has well-defined muscles despite the covering of the fur, and appears to have a hump on its back that may or may not extend beyond the top of the creature's head. Researchers have often quoted that two prominent early Native American tribes that had once resided around the modern-day areas of Florida and Louisiana feature reported encounters with the creature within their local mythologies that directly match with descriptions commonly associated with the skunk ape creature. This claim, however, is only partly true. One of the local Native American tribes features stories of a swamp-like creature referred to as the Shawanoki. Some researchers have incorrectly translated this to mean a mysterious swamp-dwelling creature, and so have made the connection that the creature must be referred to the skunk ape, of which is commonly reported in areas of swamps. The truth, however, is that Shawanoki directly translates to snapping mouth, and was more commonly used to refer to hidden alligators or snapping turtles local to the area. An additional note to make is that the coincidence of Shawanoki referring to the swamp and the skunk ape often being reported in or around a swamp is hardly a coincidence at all. Many of the areas throughout Louisiana and Florida feature swamps as their only form of wilderness, as it is nearly impossible to pave or develop any form of modern construction within swamp grounds. The other prominent Native American tribe does indeed feature a story that directly matches with reports and encounters with the skunk ape. Referred to by the tribe as the Esti Kapkaki, of which directly translates to the tall man, the creature is a reportedly humanoid being that is often regarded as the protector of the surrounding woods and swamplands. If one was to find themselves chasing the creature, before long, they would witness the animal vanish from sight, as if disappearing in the fog. Other titles for the creature were known as the Sand People, the Mangrove People, or the People Eaters. In the early morning, sometime around 6 in the morning, 2 witnesses were driving into the town of Gainesville, located within Florida, when they reported one of the first documented encounters with the skunk ape. According to the 2 eyewitnesses, a young mother was traveling with her son. As they were traveling down Route 441, passing a 4-lane highway with an open grassy area that separates the lanes, a tall, humanoid creature, covered from head to toe in thick matted fur, was standing between the lanes, strolling across the grassy fields. The sighting, which occurred in the summer of 2000, allowed the witnesses to see the creature in bright daylight, despite it being only 6 in the morning. However, they reported that it did not register what they had just seen, and it wasn't until they drove closer that they realized what they were looking at. According to the mother, the 2 had just passed by the Painesville Prairie Preserve, a state park of more than 21,000 acres that consisted mostly of flat swamplands and unending miles of wet prairies and overgrown marshlands. Believing the humanoid figure to have been a possible illegal hunter dressed up in matching camouflage, and due to the fact that no other cars were on the highway, the mother then slowed almost to a halt to get a better look at the humanoid creature. The witnesses then claimed that the creature, described as a large beast covered with brown hair, turned to face the 2 of them and began traveling towards their lane. Unsure of what to do, the driver stayed parked on the highway lane and waited for the creature to cross into the surrounding swampy nature preserve, watching its movements as it continued to pass them. At first, the witnesses claimed that they thought the creature could have been a normal, but rather tall man, dressed in animal skins and furs that wrapped around him like a sweater, but as it walked towards them, they realized that the creature was not human and appeared more like a humanoid ape-like creature. Over the course of a few seconds, the humanoid ape-like creature crossed the highway lanes and walked over the surrounding bank, disappearing into the nearby state park. During her report, the woman would claim that the creature had to have stood somewhere between 7.5 to 8 feet in height, though it was impossible to accurately judge given the fact that she and her son were sitting in the car. Additionally, despite the fact that the ape-like creature was covered in fur from head to toe, the driver claimed that clear outlines of thick muscle could be seen, that appeared to be very human except for its large, thick feet that appeared to be more like padding. The young boy would claim that it appeared that the creature ran quickly with a hunched-over posture and looked like a human monkey or a caveman, and said that it crossed the 4 lanes within a few seconds. Another sighting of the creature was made in Brevard County, Florida. On the 15th of September back in 1989, a brother and sister would witness an 8-foot-tall humanoid creature that would reignite the legends of the skunk ape in the region. According to the 2 eyewitnesses, they had been driving from Florida to Kissimmee late in the night, sometime around 11 in the evening. As the 2 were driving along Nova Road, located within Brevard County, the brother needed a temporary break to relieve himself after several hours of driving, and so pulled over to the side of the road for roughly 30 seconds. As he was standing outside the car, the sister began shouting that someone was coming and that the brother should finish before they got in trouble. Glancing around, the brother then noticed what he described as a 7 or 8 foot tall, dark humanoid creature running towards him, exiting from an area in the surrounding woods where snapped branches and debris could be seen. At first, the brother was unsure of who the person was, and worried that perhaps the person running towards them needed help. Due to Nova Road being a desolate 30-mile stretch of road that cuts through thousands of acres of untouched swamp and wetlands, the brother was certain that there should be no one in the wilderness unless they were in danger and needed help. Upon closer examination of the fast-approaching creature, it became clear to the brother that the tall humanoid was something completely inhuman, covered entirely in hair and striding along the ground as if the creature was preparing to quietly attack. Fearing for his life, the brother ran back to the car and began pulling away as fast as possible. After driving several miles, the brother began to slow the car down once more for another break when he noticed the creature following them on the road, now lit up in a red glowing tint due to the car's brake lights. Without any further hesitation, the brother slammed on the pedal and left the creature behind, watching as it jumped back into the nearby swampland. A few months ago, It was reported that sheep across the world were observed walking around in circles, and people have now said that the phenomenon has just started up again. Due to this strange behavior, it's caused some to suggest that animals may be sensing something. Interestingly, some animals have been observed to have the ability to detect earthquakes before they occur. This is believed to be due to their heightened sensitivity to changes in their environment, such as vibrations or electromagnetic fields. One animal that is known for its ability to detect earthquakes is the common toad. Researchers have found that toads will often leave their breeding sites and move to higher ground several days before an earthquake occurs. Similarly, other studies have shown that certain species of fish, snakes, and even domesticated dogs and cats have exhibited unusual behavior prior to an earthquake. Scientists have said that not all animals have this ability, and more research is needed to fully understand the mechanisms behind this phenomenon. The United States Geological Survey said the following about this phenomenon. Evidence abounds of animals, fish, birds, reptiles, and insects exhibiting strange behavior anywhere from weeks to seconds before an earthquake. However, consistent and reliable behavior prior to seismic events and a mechanism explaining how it could work still eludes us. End quote. One person commented on social media saying that they have a koi pond, and she observed her fish swimming around in circles for hours. This event happened in early March, and she said that a few days later, the region where she lives was hit by a 4-magnitude earthquake. China is located in an area of the world that is particularly prone to earthquakes due to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Pacific Ring of Fire is a region that encircles the Pacific Ocean and is characterized by high levels of seismic activity and volcanic eruptions. China is also situated on the boundary between the Eurasian Plate and the Indian Plate, which are two of the Earth's tectonic plates. The collision of these two plates has created a complex system of fault lines that runs through China, resulting in frequent earthquakes. While earthquakes are common in China, the country has implemented measures to mitigate their impact. This includes seismic monitoring systems, earthquake-resistant building codes, and public education campaigns on earthquake preparedness. Oddly enough, this strange behavior was observed a few months back, when sheep were seen walking around in circles. It was reported that hundreds of sheep had been observed walking in circles for over 12 days. Not long after the first report was made, others came forward and said that sheep were observed doing the same thing across different countries, with reports coming in from the United Kingdom and Mongolia, with local farmers confused as to why the sheep were doing this for such a long period of time, with one farmer saying that it happens every so often, but has never lasted more than an hour. The cause of this strange behavior is still not known. It's known that China is often hit by earthquakes, and at the time it caused some to suggest that perhaps the sheep could feel something happening. The United States Geological Survey said the following. The earliest reference we have to unusual animal behavior prior to a significant earthquake is from Greece in 373 BC. Rats, weasels, snakes, and centipedes reportedly left their homes and headed for safety several days before a destructive earthquake. Anecdotal evidence abounds of animals, fish, birds, reptiles, and insects exhibiting strange behavior anywhere from weeks to seconds before an earthquake. Most but not all scientists pursuing this mystery are in China or Japan. An earthquake forecast was made in China several decades ago, based on small earthquakes and unusual animal activity. Many people chose to sleep outside of their homes and thus were spared when the main earthquake indeed occurred and caused widespread destruction. However, usually no large earthquake follows this type of seismic activity, and unfortunately, many earthquakes are preceded by no precursory events whatsoever. End quote. It's for this reason that people worry when they see animals acting like this, with residents fearing that a big earthquake could hit the region within the next few days. As mentioned, for centuries there have been accounts of animals acting strange before an earthquake devastates a region. A few years back, scientists came forward and said that they have filmed the behavior of wild animals prior to a quake, and believe this could be documented evidence of animals behaving differently just prior to an earthquake. The researchers were studying birds in Peru and found that days before an earthquake hit, the birds ran for shelter, with the team suggesting that the animals running for cover may be linked to airborne ions. As of right now, Scientists and animal experts have said that there's several reasons why animals may walk in circles, saying that some animals, particularly those with poor eyesight, may use circling as a means of navigating. By walking in circles, they may be able to detect changes in their environment, such as the location of food or water sources, and orient themselves more accurately. Certain animals, especially those in captivity or under stress, may exhibit repetitive behaviors, including circling. This behavior may be a result of boredom, anxiety, or a lack of stimulation. In some cases, animals may walk in circles due to neurological disorders, such as vestibular disease. This condition affects the inner ear, which can cause disorientation and loss of balance. Injury. Animals may also walk in circles if they have sustained an injury to their limbs or other parts of their body. This behavior may be an attempt to alleviate pain or discomfort. It's important to note that circling behavior in animals should be investigated and monitored by a veterinarian, as it can sometimes be a symptom of a more serious underlying condition. All across North America are reported sightings of large, hairy humanoids, with those who've allegedly encountered them describing them as being covered in hair from head to toe and commonly encountered within or nearby the untamed woods and landscapes found all across the United States and Canada. Oddly enough, not every state or local area across North America refers to the creature as the same name, and more commonly, local legends will feature similar descriptions of the creature, but with slight variations in its design alongside differing names. Mr. Kramer of Mississippi reported that he captured this photograph in the woods. The photograph appears to show a large humanoid creature standing next to some trees, with the eyewitnesses saying that when he came back to the area and measured the trees, they estimated that this creature is around 8 feet in height. It's interesting to note, though, that this creature does fit the description of other photos that have been captured. One user said the following: "This looks quite convincing to me, as most do look like people in suits, but this one doesn't seem to show that. This doesn't, however, mean that the photo is genuine, and hopefully the owner can have the right people carry out an investigation to get to the bottom of this mystery." Others said that with these older photographs, it's hard to track down where it was taken, and any more information that could help us get to the bottom of what this thing was. Some amateur researchers who've spent years looking into the creature did say, though, this was the first time that they've seen this image, and said that further examination of the photograph should be conducted. For years now, people across the United States have been encountering mysterious creatures, and some of these happen in places like national parks or mountainous areas. It's also not uncommon to hear mysterious sounds in these regions. Although nearly impossible to believe, a series of mass sightings reported back in 1973 within a small American town known as Murfreesboro would lead to the local police department spearheading an official investigation into the existence of a local humanoid creature. The Murfreesboro mud monster is believed to be a large humanoid bipedal ape-like creature similar to modern-day sightings of the North American Bigfoot. Witness descriptions of the creature claim it to have white-colored fur and appearing similar in design to an oversized gorilla with splotches of mud matting its fur. The first sightings of the Murfreesboro mud monster were recorded in the summer of 1973 and would be spotted by several dozen independent eyewitnesses up until the modern day, where sightings still continue. The primary location of reported sightings of the Murfreesboro mud monster is along the banks of the Big Muddy River, located near the small town of Murfreesboro. Witness accounts detail that the head of the creature appeared spade-shaped, similar to reports of the Flatwoods monster. The texture of the monster's fur was also described as being similar in likeness to the shaggy fur of an English sheepdog. In several reports describing the Murfreesboro mud monster, the creature was claimed to have glowing red eyes, similar to the brightness of a distant streetlight. In other reports, the creature is claimed to have no visible face, as it appears to have been completely covered in the white fur. On the 26th of June, a young 5-year-old boy by the name of Christian Barrell would claim to witness a monster with a similar description at around 10:30 in the evening. According to the child's mother, he has been given a glass jar that he could use to catch fireflies with. Seeing a large group of fireflies alongside the bank of the Big Muddy River, Christian travelled near the water and saw what he described as a large white shape rise up from behind a fence that separated their property from a neighbour's property. Believing that he saw a ghost, 5-year-old Christian Barrell ran back to his home, dropping the jar and found his dad, crying to him and telling him what he had seen. Although the dad did not believe that his son had seen anything resembling a ghost, he comforted the child and said that the creature was gone and would not hurt him. Several days later, the father claimed that as he was talking to his neighbor, the neighbor told him about a sighting his family had experienced on the 26th of June of what he believed was a large white ape-like monster walking through his backyard and disappearing into the nearby Big Muddy River. According to the neighbor, his daughter, a young teenager by the name of Cheryl Ray, claimed to have encountered the mysterious creature sometime at around 11 in the evening, and this was while she had been sitting on the enclosed front porch with her boyfriend, Randy Creeth. According to the young couple, while in the middle of a conversation, they claimed to have heard rustling coming from about 15 feet away from where they were sitting. At first, the couple assumed that the rustling was caused by small animals running through the brush, but soon became suspicious when the rustling started to grow louder and continued across multiple bushes. Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth believed that the sound was most likely being caused by a group of young neighborhood kids who were spying on the young couple as a prank. This theory would cause Cheryl Ray to go inside the home to turn on the outside porch light, while Randy Creeth decided to leave the enclosed porch to confront the kids. However, as the front outdoor porch light came on, Randy soon witnessed a massive white-furred creature standing an estimated 10 feet away from where he had been standing, causing him to freeze in fear. Cheryl Ray would later provide the following description of the events. Randy and I were sitting in my parents' breezeway when we heard something in the woods. We both went down, but Randy was walking a little bit ahead. Then he called me over, and there it was. We stood there looking at it. It was really tall and hairy. I think it was white, but it was dirty and matted. It had a real bad odor. It was really rank. I never smelled anything like it. It seemed like an eternity we stood there, and then it just turned around and walked off into the woods. We could hear it trampling through the woods." End quote. Randy Creeth would later draw a silhouette outline of the creature, showing that the monster apparently had a spade-shaped head similar to the Flatwoods monster. He would later provide the following description of the creature. "The thing I remember was the bulk of it, the shape, the human form, and the stench of the river slime it apparently had on it. It was about 8 feet tall, and at least as built as a New York football player. We were within 15 feet of it, close enough to see the body, the texture of the fur, which was long and hairy. It was like an English sheepdog." End quote. Both witnesses would claim that the creature had glowing red eyes that were similar to the glow of a distant streetlight. Its height was estimated to have been around 7 feet tall, with the creature believed to have weighed more than 350 pounds if compared to a human being. Additionally, the creature's arms were believed to have been elongated, similar to a gorilla's arms. After staring at the creature for a total of 30 seconds, the large humanoid beast turned around and appeared to have walked away into the surrounding bushes and disappeared. Shortly thereafter, Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth would contact the local Murfreesboro Police Department and describe their sighting of the creature. Police officers Jimmy Nash and Ron Manwaring would immediately respond to the call of the creature sighting, believing that the monster was the same creature previously spotted by the Murfreesboro Police Department at around the same time on the previous night. Once the two officers arrived on scene, they quickly noticed what they described was a powerful odor that was unlike anything they had previously encountered. When trying to locate the source of the smell, the officers would stumble across a set of large footprints that were similar to the recovered prints seen near the bank of the Big Muddy River. Believing that the footprints were evidence of the creature, 14 additional officers would be sent to investigate the mysterious creature sighting, including an officer by the name of Jerry Nellis, who had been trained as a dog handler with the Carbondale Police Department. According to the official police report, Jerry Nellis brought along his German Shepherd by the name of Reb. Official Murfreesboro Police Department records describe Reb as one of the most reliable canines on the force, having successfully assisted in past search and rescue missions. As the officers gathered together, the team decided to follow the tracks left behind the creature in the hopes of bringing it down. As the officers followed a set of tracks, they discovered what they later described as a foul-smelling black slime that followed the trail from the back porch of the Ray home down into the nearby Big Muddy River. Using the strange slime as a source of scent, Officer Jerry Nellis's dog Reb began to follow the creature's scent, with the officers following closely behind. The officers recalled in their report that the trail appeared to have been littered with broken tree limbs and trampled underbrush that showed the creature was far larger than any known human being. The trail ended near a quarry of rocks and granite stones, where the dog appeared to have trouble relocating the scent. After a minute or so, however, the dog picked up a new scent that followed a small trail through dense forest and alongside an embankment to the big muddy river that led to a small steep-sloped pond. Before long, the dog brought the officers to an abandoned barn located on the old Buller property, which rested north of the big muddy river, east of the Ray home. Once the dog reached the door of the barn, however, it began yelping and trembling and was too scared to move any further. Believing that the monster was in the barn, the officers decided to wait to enter the barn before additional backup arrived. It's at this point that the official police record surrounding the incident becomes muddled and inconsistent. Some officers claim that after additional backup arrived from neighboring police departments, totaling about a dozen patrol cars, the monster had broken out of the barn through a back wall and disappeared into the nearby river. Other reports claim that the officers entered the barn and discovered no evidence of the creature, but recovered more samples of the mysterious black slime. Additional reports claim that the officers encountered and neutralized the monster within the barn and had made attempts to cover up the recovery of the creature's body. Regardless of the events, the search for the creature was immediately called off following the searching of the barn, and the officers would return to their patrols and departments. The witness testimony from the officers and future sources of information conflict and often contradict each other when it comes to the recovery of the black slime. In one report, an officer claims that the smell of the slime was so putrid, it was immediately covered with dirt and buried. Another report claims that officers gathered up the black slime as evidence of the events, though no evidence of recovered black slime is found in the modern day. Shortly after this encounter, the police chief of the Murfreesboro Police Department, a man by the name of Toby Berger, would put out warnings to local newspapers and officers, claiming that the encounters or sightings of the creature should be toned down or possibly censored to prevent the development of mass hysteria, as the police chief claimed he was worried that one of the residents could become trigger-happy and accidentally hurt another resident of their small town. Despite these attempts at censorship, stories of the encounters would spread across the town of Murfreesboro, leading to the formation of small armed groups that would go hunting for the creature. Two individuals purporting to be time travelers from the year 2027 have been uploading videos that they assert serve as evidence of their solitary existence in the future. The two individuals have taken to social media, asserting that they find themselves isolated in 2027, with no one else around except for each other, and a noticeable absence of any human presence. Both of the individuals claiming to be time travelers never reveal their identity in the seemingly empty videos, supposedly from 4 years in the future. They claimed to be a time traveler with a chilling prophecy, the absence of human life by the year 2027. Their arrival was shrouded in mystery, but the time travelers said they have a grim prophecy. According to them, the year 2027 would mark the disappearance of all human life from the face of the earth. He spoke of a catastrophic event that would unfold, leading to the unraveling of civilizations, the vanishing of cities, and the haunting silence of abandoned landscapes. He warned that unless immediate action was taken, this impending catastrophe would occur within the next 5 years. Users on social media listened with a mix of disbelief and concern. Some dismissed their claims as being delusional, while others contemplated the possibility that their claims might be rooted in reality. They pondered the repercussions of ignoring his warning and the potential consequences for their own lives and future generations. Although the idea of them being time travelers seemed far-fetched, their message weighed heavily on those who had read it. Many voiced their concerns with how the world is and said that it's likely that things are going to get worse in the future. They posted one more video on social media, telling people once again that things will get much worse before they get better, and told people that an uprising will happen within the next 5 years, saying that people couldn't deal with the conditions any longer. Some pointed out that these claims are rooted in reality, with one of the time travelers' warnings being about famine. The issue of famine and its potential future impact is a complex and multifaceted one. While it is challenging to predict with certainty, there are several factors that suggest the possibility of increased risks of famine in the future. One of the primary factors contributing to concerns about future famine is the growing global population. As the world's population continues to expand, the demand for food resources increases. Coupled with environmental challenges, land degradation, and water scarcity, meeting the food needs of a larger population becomes more difficult. If proper measures are not taken to enhance agricultural productivity, improve distribution systems, and address environmental concerns, the risk of food shortages and subsequent famines could rise. Changing weather patterns, extreme weather events, and rising temperatures can have detrimental effects on agricultural production. Heat waves, droughts, floods, and shifts in rainfall patterns can lead to crop failures, livestock losses, and reduced food availability. Vulnerable regions that heavily rely on agriculture as their main source of food and income are particularly at risk. If adaptation strategies and resilient agricultural practices are not implemented, the impacts on food production may exacerbate the risk of famine. Furthermore, economic factors, including poverty, play a significant role in determining the vulnerability of populations to famine. On June 21, 2017, a couple in Montrose, Colorado, witnessed a peculiar occurrence in the sky. According to the witness, as they were watching the sunset from their front deck, the husband noticed bright lights moving in their direction from the west. The wife hurried inside to grab her phone, while her husband grabbed his Canon camera, and together they successfully captured images of the first object. While taking pictures and videos with their phones, they stated that one of their friends who was there at the time witnessed an unusual object in the sky, detailing that it can best be described as resembling a phoenix or angelic form. The object had a long and thin silver body that looked like a jet or cylinder with a potential nose pointing downwards. The couple managed to capture pictures and video of the sighting from two different angles, but said that it didn't look like anything they had ever seen before, saying that one of the first things that came to mind was that this object looked like a phoenix. The couple said that at the time of the sighting it was cloudy day, but noted that they weren't the only ones who saw this. It is unclear whether there were one or two of these entities, one potentially circling the city due to the timing of their separate appearances. The couple said that the shape of the object they encountered was not immediately evident until they viewed photos of it on their computer. They felt both eager and anxious upon seeing it, as they said that they have witnessed other unidentified objects in the past. However, this particular object differed from the last two they saw, which were hovering in tandem above a local restaurant. The image was sent to the Mutual UFO Network and was filed under case number 84548. Interestingly, this couple were not the only ones to report this sighting, but were the only ones to capture this image, and this was due to the husband having a telephoto lens, which is a long focus lens that allows photographers to take images of objects far away from them. Various theories have been put forward in order to explain what this object was, and interestingly, some suggested that it could have been the mythical Thunderbird. Native American mythology is rich with stories of powerful and majestic creatures that inhabit the skies, and one of the most prominent among them is the Thunderbird. Revered and respected by numerous tribes across North America, the Thunderbird holds a significant place in indigenous folklore, symbolizing strength, power, and spiritual connection. In Native American cultures, the Thunderbird is often depicted as a large bird-like creature with wings that span the sky. It is believed to have the ability to create thunder and lightning, hence its name. The Thunderbird is associated with the forces of nature, particularly storms, and is seen as a powerful and sometimes unpredictable force. Different tribes have their own unique interpretations of the Thunderbird, but common themes prevail across many traditions. Among the Ojibwe people, for example, the Thunderbird is known as Benesi and is considered a powerful and sacred being. According to their legends, the Thunderbird plays a vital role in maintaining the balance of the natural world and has the ability to bring rain and renew the earth. Similarly, the Lakota people regard the Thunderbird as a sacred and powerful creature. They believe that the Thunderbird is responsible for delivering important messages between the spiritual and physical realms. It is considered a guardian and protector, watching over the people and bringing blessings and good fortune. Legends surrounding the Thunderbird often intertwine with creation stories and important cultural beliefs. For many tribes, the Thunderbird is associated with the sun, representing its transformative power and life-giving energy. It is also believed to possess healing properties, with its feathers and body parts used in various rituals and ceremonies for their perceived spiritual and medicinal qualities. The Thunderbird is not merely a creature of myth and legend, but is deeply ingrained in the cultural fabric of Native American communities. Its image can be found in traditional artwork, totem poles, and regalia, symbolizing the tribe's connection to the natural world and their reverence for the forces of nature. Beyond its cultural significance, the Thunderbird also holds relevance in the contemporary world. Its image has been adopted by various organizations and sports teams, serving as a symbol of strength, resilience, and unity. This recognition and incorporation of the Thunderbird into mainstream culture is a testament to the enduring power and influence of Native American beliefs and traditions. The significance of the Thunderbird extends beyond its symbolic representation. Many individuals claim to have witnessed sightings or encounters with creatures resembling the Thunderbird. These accounts often describe large, winged creatures with incredible wingspans and extraordinary abilities. While these reports cannot be scientifically verified, they contribute to the ongoing fascination and intrigue surrounding the Thunderbird and its existence. The Thunderbird's presence in Native American mythology serves as a reminder of the deep connection between indigenous cultures and the natural world. It emphasizes the importance of respecting and living in harmony with the environment, recognizing the power and wisdom inherent in the natural elements. Some people don't think that this sighting was a mythical creature and labeled it as an unidentified object. The number of reported UFO sightings varies from year to year, and it is challenging to establish an accurate count due to several factors, including the varying definitions of unidentified objects and the reporting practices in different regions. However, it is evident that a significant number of sightings are reported annually, with thousands of cases being documented worldwide. One of the key challenges in estimating the exact number of reports is the fact that not all sightings are reported or recorded. Many individuals may witness something unusual in the sky, but choose not to report it for various reasons, such as fear of ridicule or a lack of awareness of reporting mechanisms. As a result, the reported numbers are likely only a fraction of the actual sightings that occur. Despite these limitations, several organizations and agencies actively collect and analyze reports. The National UFO Reporting Center in the United States, for example, receives thousands of reports each year. Other countries also have similar organizations or initiatives dedicated to recording and investigating UFO sightings. The Mutual UFO Network is another prominent organization that collects and investigates reports worldwide. In addition to these organizations, advancements in technology and the widespread use of smartphones have made it easier for individuals to document and report sightings. People can capture photos or videos and quickly share them through social media platforms or dedicated sighting websites. This accessibility has contributed to an increase in the number of reported sightings in recent years. A few years back, Egyptologists revealed they found a mysterious black goo, with them saying that it was used to cover mummies. Several artifacts and mummies were covered in this mysterious black goo, and after tests were conducted, the team said they were able to trace it to the 19th and 22nd dynasty. It's reported that one of the mummies that was found to be covered in this substance was a priest to the sun god Amun, and said that he passed away almost 3,000 years ago. After this, he was placed into a large wooden coffin and had the black goo poured over him. Archaeologists had noticed that this substance was used on various mummies and also artifacts that were found inside these ancient burial sites, and so they decided to conduct a variety of tests to find out more about it. The British Museum was able to find out more about this substance and what its exact purpose was. It's reported that researchers in the area were able to collect over 100 samples of this black goo, saying that some of these samples were vaporized in a process called gas chromatography. After this, they were placed through a tube which helped separate the molecules. Dr. Kate Fulcher, research assistant in the museum's Department of Scientific Research, said the following about the experiment. "We discovered that the goo is made of a combination of plant oil, animal fat, tree resin, beeswax, and bitumen, which is solid crude oil. The exact ingredients vary from one coffin to the next, but the goo was always made from some of these." End quote. Interestingly, she also said that there were other ingredients inside the black goo that they were unable to detect, saying that they likely degraded to the point that they could no longer be picked up on. Archaeologists said that this goo had been found in wooden figurines, large boxes to help bond them, and also coffins. Even King Tutankhamun's tomb contained figurines that were covered in the black goo, but researchers said that as of right now these had not been analysed. One of the reasons this substance was created the way it was is because the ancient Egyptians thought that the colour black symbolises rebirth. Dr. Kate Fulcher continued with the following. Osiris was called the Black One in various texts, and is often depicted with black skin and in the guise of a mummified body. Black is also the colour associated with the silt deposited on the banks of the River Nile after the annual flood receded. It could therefore be reasoned that the practice of coating coffins in black goo links the coffin to regeneration associated with Osiris. The archaeologists also noticed that the black goo helped to bond the coffins together, and one idea was that this was to stop robbers from being able to steal them. The researchers found that this substance wasn't plentiful, and that only the elite of ancient Egypt would have had access to it. Large amounts of it was found inside various tombs throughout Egypt, with scientists saying some of it went missing, and some was cleaned off when the artifacts were first found. The black goo has been found in coffins from the Third Intermediate Period, but Dr. Fulcher said that further excavations could reveal that this goo was used during different periods. A recent discovery made in Sudan also showed that this black goo was present, and this was because it was under Egyptian control. Not only does this show us that there were elite members living in this region, but it's also direct evidence that the ancient Egyptians had established a trade route with them. Archaeologists have known for some time now that the ancient Egyptians were advanced in many areas, and one discovery that proved this was that of the Great Sphinx of Giza. When the ancient Greek civilization first journeyed to Egypt and laid witness to its incredible methods of construction, megalithic structures, advanced cities and technologies, and incredible strides in mathematics and philosophy. Not only were they completely intrigued by this, but they quickly worked to try to classify what they saw and provide it with the names we know today. When the ancient Greeks came across the large stone structure that depicted a lion with the face of a man, reminding the Greeks of the stories of the Sphinx recorded in the struggle of Oedipus, they quickly named the structure the Sphinx as an ode to their own culture seen in the Egyptian culture. However, outside of this original encounter, nothing else was known about the strange structure. In fact, new evidence and research today has found that it could very well be possible that the Sphinx structure itself is far older than supposed Egyptian writings and documents proclaim it to be. One of the main reasons for why the Sphinx has been dated its current age of being only 4,500 years old is not due to carbon dating or other reliable efforts made to accurately measure its date, but rather because of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics and documents that detail that the Sphinx was supposedly created during the reign of Egypt's 4th dynasty. Unfortunately, it was recently discovered that these documents could very well not be legitimate, and that the pharaoh of the 4th dynasty forged them for the sole purpose of taking credit of another past pharaoh's works, a common practice amongst pharaohs to rewrite history and take the honor of a past pharaoh's lifelong efforts. This was discovered not by taking a closer inspection at the Sphinx, but rather discoveries made in the tombs of long-deceased kings of Egypt. Originally a theory put forward by the groundbreaking author Robert Temple, there appeared to be overwhelming evidence that the Sphinx we know today was actually an attempt made by a pharaoh of the 4th dynasty to do nothing more than to claim the works of those before him. Evidence for this can be found when analyzing the head-to-body ratio. In fact, the head on the Sphinx is so small that many had often believed upon first sight that it could have been grinded down from a much more massive structure. The second piece of evidence is provided by the hieroglyphics located at the temple of Tep-Tu-Fu, that outline in great detail that the original god of ancient Giza was Anubis, and the accounts and images of Anubis in his jackal form are drawn all throughout the site in the same pose as of the body of the Sphinx, with no mention of a lion of any kind at the ancient city. Interestingly enough, This exact same pose was discovered in one of the only tombs of an Egyptian pharaoh ever discovered that had been completely undisturbed since his burial, the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. Within King Tut's tomb is a shrine to Anubis that demonstrates an exact scale of the Sphinx statue, but with the head of a jackal to represent Anubis, showing in overwhelming evidence that the original statue at the ancient city of Giza was supposed to be that of a jackal-headed Anubis and not that of a lion body with a human head. So where do we get the idea of a human head and a lion body? The truth is, the only reason why the statue is referred to as a sphinx is because of old Greek mythologies, such as those of Oedipus, that talk about a lion with the head of a man called a sphinx, but no such symbol exists in that of ancient Egypt. This means that the hieroglyphic texts that describe the sphinx with a human head to represent the pharaoh of the 4th dynasty was nothing more than a forgery by the then pharaoh to take credit for a great statue of which he had not created or designed. In fact, a former pharaoh gives a great account about providing his royal dog a grand burial at the site of ancient Giza. In this text, his argument for why he had such a royal burial for what has been speculated to be his guard dog was due to his want and need to have the dog buried before the great god Anubis. Not only definitively proving that the Sphinx was originally that of the god Anubis in the jackal form, but also that the structure itself was created during the pre-dynastic times, long before any pharaoh could claim ownership of its creation. This could very well mean that not only was the creation of the Sphinx older than that of the dynastic reigns of Egypt, but that perhaps the structure is older than the Egyptian civilizations themselves. Further evidence of this theory can be found when analyzing the recent archaeological finds of strange bones discovered all throughout ancient Egypt. It is well known amongst Egyptologists that the ancient Egyptians treasured animals of all kinds, believing them to be the representation of their gods. It's due to this obsession that strange structures and bones from animals all around the world, even from areas previously believed to not have been operating open trade routes, have surfaced all across ancient Egyptian cities. Described as Egyptian zoos, strange hieroglyphics and designs have come forward showing evidence that not only were the early Egyptians capable of owning strange beasts from around the world, but that they possibly possessed an extinct species of woolly mammoth. Dubbed as the world's first zoo, a 6,000-year-old ancient Egyptian cemetery was uncovered filled with the remains of wild animals from all around the world that should have been unable to collect from the reaches of early man for thousands of years to come. Skeletons of ostriches, crocodiles, leopards, and other exotic animals were found alongside pools of water, large fenced-in cages, and a potential animal hospital filled with removed molars, teeth, claws, and evidence of animal surgeries. Though the importance of animals regarding the Egyptian religion was widely known, the evidence of the global reach of the species available to them, including species long believed to be extinct, has been a mystery that even the most elite of archaeologists and Egyptologists have failed to explain. This is odd, mostly due to the fact that it is widely believed by historians and archaeologists all around the world that the oldest civilization to exist was merely 10,000 years old. However, evidence in the fossil record shows that the modern-day intelligent human has been around for more than 50,000 years. So why is it then that the oldest cities don't start appearing until the past 10,000 years? It might have to do with the evidence of the extinct animals recorded in Egypt. The woolly mammoth was one of many distinct megafauna that went extinct at around the same time in the fossil record, merely 10,000 years ago. These extinct species included the mastodon, short-faced bear, the giant ground sloth, and many others. In fact, when Charles Darwin first visited the areas near the Galapagos Island, when he originally discovered the ground sloth bones, they were so fresh that he believed them to be a still living species of megafauna. So why was it then that around 10,000 years ago all of these species went extinct? Partly due to three strange reasons: large fires, a massive flood, and a sudden ice age. The evidence for these three events are widely known by archaeologists and research scientists, with them saying that the fossil record shows that all around the Earth appeared to be massive fires that were followed by a rapid cooling event. Many experts had originally speculated that perhaps a massive meteorite strike could have caused such a phenomenon, but no large craters supporting the theory had yet been discovered at the time of the original publications. However, this year, a massive crater underneath an ice sheet in Greenland shows a tremendous impact point where a meteor could have hit, generating more than 700 megatons of force. Any human civilization at the time, regardless of how advanced, would have been completely wiped off the face of the earth in such a massive meteor strike. All of this happening at not only around the same time as a massive extinction event, but also around the same time the oldest civilizations would have been constructed. Could this be evidence then that perhaps the pyramids and the Sphinx, as well as many other advancements made in megalithic structures and creations, could actually more accurately come from the efforts of human beings from before this catastrophic event, and the Egyptians were merely the surviving peoples to pick up where humanity left off? Given the incredible advancements we have made in the past 10,000 years, this could very well mean that the humans before the event could have been significantly more advanced than we are today, and the old stories of gods and kings could have been the technological advancements before humanity had to reset due to such a catastrophic tragedy. Definitely one of the most puzzling mysteries on the planet is that of the Great Pyramids of Giza. The sheer size, precision, and manpower required to build such a colossal structure is nearly impossible even in the modern era, which makes it all the more mysterious that an ancient culture, such as one of the first civilizations ever to arise, had the engineering capacity and means to create the massive pyramids of Giza. For a reference to the size of the pyramids, each block of the colossal structure weighs roughly 2.5 metric tons, with over 2.3 million blocks making up the entirety of the structure. Not only did this require 315 blocks to be moved in place each day for the next 20 years, but to accomplish such a building scale of delivering the large stones and moving them into place even today would be an almost impossible feat, unable to be matched. If a stone wall was made to be 2 feet high and 4 inches wide, using the blocks of the pyramid at Giza, the wall would wrap around the circumference of the entire world. Not only this, but the blocks were made with such perfect precision that each block appears to be an exact clone in size to the rest of the blocks of the pyramid. Meaning the cut of each stone was so perfect, it would be impossible to slide something as thin as a piece of paper between any 2 stones. The only way to accomplish such a precision cut in the modern era would be to rely on laser guiding and cutting. As new discoveries and mapping of the pyramids continued, even more mysterious findings were made. Archaeologists and Egyptologists found high trace amounts of chemical compounds throughout the shafts of the pyramids that have the ability to have generated a massive amount of hydrogen by utilizing commonly found base chemicals in the region, leading some researchers to believe that the pyramids themselves could have once been powerful hydrogen generators capable of supplying electricity and energy similar to modern-day power plants. Considering no other explanations for the trace chemicals have been put forward with any success, it appears to be the only standing theory relative to explaining any purpose the pyramids had, considering not a single body or artifact had been found inside the structures, including chambers never previously opened inside the colossal structures. Whatever theory you subscribe to, the nature of the pyramids are not just a mystery of Egypt, but a mystery of the history of humanity. Illegal digging, also known as looting or tomb raiding, has been a persistent problem in Egypt for many years. The country's rich archaeological heritage and the lure of valuable artifacts have made it a prime target for looters. According to a 2018 report by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, there were more than 30 cases of illegal digging or attempted illegal digging reported in the country that year alone. However, it is believed that many more cases go unreported. Illegal digging can have a devastating impact on Egypt's cultural heritage. It can lead to the destruction of archaeological sites and the loss of important artifacts that can never be recovered. It also fuels a black market for antiquities, where stolen artifacts are sold for large sums of money. The Egyptian government has taken steps to combat illegal digging, including increasing penalties for those caught and stepping up patrols of archaeological sites. However, the problem persists, and more needs to be done to protect Egypt's cultural heritage from looters. Just recently, a video of a digger was uploaded to social media, where the user said that they found something interesting. The object in question appears to be gold, and has on the back of it hieroglyphics, while on the front is what appears to be an unknown female Egyptian. The carving is strange as it always appears to be staring at you. However, the phenomenon of the eyes appearing to follow you is actually an optical illusion called the Mona Lisa effect. It is named after Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, the Mona Lisa, which appears to follow viewers no matter where they stand. The effect occurs because of the way our eyes perceive objects in the visual field. When we look at a painting or a portrait, our brains perceive it as a three-dimensional object, even though it is actually flat. This means that our brains try to adjust our perspective based on the position of the painting, causing the eyes to appear to follow us. Oddly enough, though, it's reported that the digger who found this artifact also found various other ancient relics, saying that gold bars along with small golden statues were also found. The digger went on to detail that these objects were found inside an old abandoned tunnel, but didn't give away any details as to where this tunnel was located. Ancient Egypt was one of the most important and influential civilizations in human history. The discoveries and artifacts left behind by the ancient Egyptians provide valuable insights into their culture, religion, social structure, art, and technology. There are various reasons why people illegally dig in Egypt, but most of them are driven by the desire to find valuable antiquities that can be sold on the black market. These antiquities are often stolen from archaeological sites or tombs and sold to collectors or dealers who are willing to pay large sums of money for them. Another reason is the lack of economic opportunities in certain areas of Egypt, particularly in rural areas where poverty is widespread. In such areas, people may turn to illegal digging as a way to make money, since the sale of antiquities can be a lucrative business. In some cases, political instability and conflict can also contribute to illegal digging. During times of unrest, security forces may be preoccupied with other issues, allowing looters to operate with relative impunity. Unfortunately, illegal digging in Egypt has a significant impact on the country's cultural heritage. When antiquities are stolen and sold on the black market, they are often lost forever, with little hope of ever being recovered or returned to their rightful place in history. Additionally, illegal digging can cause damage to archaeological sites and tombs, further eroding Egypt's rich cultural legacy. Interestingly, gold was highly valued in ancient Egypt and was used for a variety of purposes, such as jewelry, religious objects, and as a symbol of power and wealth. The ancient Egyptians obtained gold from various sources, including mines in Nubia and the Eastern Desert. Some of the gold was used to make elaborate burial masks, jewelry, and other funerary objects for the pharaohs and other elite members of society. The tombs of some pharaohs, such as King Tut, were filled with gold objects, including the famous solid gold funerary mask. It's believed that much of the gold from ancient Egypt was eventually melted down and reused for other purposes over time. Some of it may have been lost or stolen during the many invasions and conflicts that occurred throughout Egyptian history. However, there are still many ancient Egyptian artifacts made of gold that have survived to this day and continue to fascinate people around the world. The ancient Egyptians were most successful during the period known as the New Kingdom, which lasted from approximately 1550 BCE to 1069 BCE. This era saw a period of great expansion and prosperity for Egypt, with powerful pharaohs who were able to establish Egypt as a major military and economic power in the region. During the New Kingdom, Egypt experienced a renaissance in art, architecture, and culture. The pharaohs of this era built magnificent temples and palaces, and many of the most famous monuments of Egypt, such as the temple complex at Karnak and the Valley of the Kings, were constructed during this time. The New Kingdom also saw the rise of the powerful pharaohs, such as Ahmose I, Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Amenhotep III, and Ramses II, who were able to conquer neighboring territories, establish trade networks, and build an empire. One of the most significant events of the New Kingdom was the reign of Akhenaten, who attempted to establish a new monotheistic religion centered around the worship of the sun god, Aten. While his religious reforms were ultimately unsuccessful, they represented a major departure from traditional Egyptian beliefs and had a profound impact on Egyptian culture. The New Kingdom came to an end in the late 11th century BCE due to a combination of factors, including economic instability, internal unrest, and invasions by foreign powers. However, its legacy continued to influence Egyptian culture and society for centuries to come, and many of its achievements continue to fascinate and inspire people around the world. The United States government has acknowledged the existence of unidentified flying objects, but their stance and level of knowledge about them is not entirely clear. Back in June 2021, the United States government released a report on unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the new term used to describe these mysterious aircrafts. The report, issued by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, stated that there were 144 reports of unidentified aerial phenomena from 2004 to 2021, with only one of them having an identifiable explanation. As of right now, though, officials haven't released any more information on this topic, leading amateur researchers to suggest that they're not giving away all of the answers and that they're holding on to substantial evidence which could prove once and for all what these objects are. Going back a few years ago, a man overheard two security guards talking, and they detailed that in the early hours of the morning, something was being transported out of Edwards Air Force Base. He overheard the guards say that the object would be transported at around 1:30 in the morning, and so he decided to wait in his car to see what the Air Force Base was transporting. The man reported that in the distance he could see a police car with its lights on, and behind it were several other police cars escorting a large truck. The man said that he couldn't believe what he was seeing, and that the object on the back of the truck appeared to be in the shape of a disc. Many said that the man was brave for doing this, and that he may have caught genuine proof of a mysterious aircraft. Although the man was able to follow the military guards and capture proof of this encounter, others said that he was lucky not to have been spotted, and suggested that if he was caught by officers, then he may have been given a prison sentence. Oddly enough, although the man was able to capture clear photographs of an aircraft in the shape of a disc, some online users came forward and said that it wasn't an unidentified aircraft, and was actually an aircraft that belonged to the United States Navy. The aircraft in question is called the X-46B. According to military websites, the project was funded under a $635 million contract, which was awarded to the United States Navy in 2007. By January 2012, the total program cost had grown to over $800 million. The aircraft certainly looks futuristic, but according to military insiders, the program had a rough start, and not long after being awarded the program, it was soon scrapped in favor of a less stealthy aircraft. Interestingly, various military bases have been home to strange encounters, which have led former military workers to come forward with their strange encounters. One such event happened at the Edwards Air Force Base. Edwards Air Force Base sits amid the dusty plains of the Mojave Desert, home to the Earth's hottest place, Death Valley, where temperatures fluctuate from scorching hot in the summer to freezing cold in the winter. The desert is a hostile and dangerous place, but it's also one of America's most fascinating places for a number of reasons. Geographically, the area is unique. Furthermore, the first space shuttle mission, Columbia, landed at Edwards on its return to Earth in April 1981. However, there's a reason much more relevant to this video as to why we're taking a look at the base. Edwards Air Force Base, by location and the majority of its purpose, is just a regular military installation, but it also serves a joint purpose. The base essentially controls activities at the nearby Homey Airport, an area that in recent years has become synonymous with strange activity. One would imagine that some strange things must be seen late at night, that far out in the desert, surrounded by nothing but open air and dusty expanses. One night in 1965, an air traffic controller at the base had a strange encounter with what he believed was an aircraft in the shape of a disc. In 1965, Edwards, like US Air Force bases all over the country, were on high alert for suspicious activity in the skies. Tension with the Soviet Union was mounting, and the most shocking thing that radar controllers in the Nevada desert could have seen back then would have been a Russian aircraft. However, the objects that appeared above the base, apparently flying very high and very fast, appeared in sets of 7 to 12 and looked like pulsating lights against the night sky. However, the controllers couldn't be sure of what they'd seen, and as a precaution, a fighter jet was scrambled from the nearby George Air Force Base. Yet, the strange lights continued to climb into the night sky, far outpacing the fighter jet. Controllers noted that the craft seemed to simply fade away into space, becoming one of the stars. The thing about the Edwards incident is that the eyewitness reports were credible, so the crew at the base most definitely did see something that night. It's just not clear what it was that they saw. We don't know what sort of threat, or how bad a threat these mysterious aircrafts posed, but when the evidence was released only about 15 years ago, people realized that the government had gone to great lengths at the time to cover up these sorts of incidents. These mysterious aircrafts have been a thing of immense fascination across the world for thousands of years, but Americans were amongst the first to take a continued interest in the phenomena. And when multiple soldiers, those who we trust with keeping us safe, are left confused and ultimately convinced by their own sightings, you can't help but think that there might be something else out there. These are just a few examples of what military officials have encountered, and there's definitely no shortage of these types of stories. It's interesting when we hear about these types of sightings that have been witnessed by everyday people, but when military officials come forward and share their stories, they seem more credible. This is because these are the people that work around these areas on a daily basis, so they are used to seeing military equipment on a daily basis. No matter what your thoughts surrounding these incidents, one thing that can't be ignored is that there are only two possible conclusions to make when it comes to repeated UFO sightings: either a truth within the story or false. The United Kingdom is no stranger to these mysterious aircrafts, and since the early 1980s, there have been various mass sightings of strange aircrafts that don't match vehicles such as planes or helicopters. Described as one of the strangest aerial sightings ever made, bordering on the theory of being a possible religious experience, is that of the well-recorded incident referred to by researchers as the Devon Flying Cross sighting. While officers Roger Willey and Clifford Walcott were making their way back to the police station, driving from Holsworthy to Hatherley at around 4 a.m, they were diverted from their investigation when they spotted a series of floating lights in the sky that seemed to group together and take on the shape of a cross. According to the two officers, the sighting took place on the 24th of October back in 1967 and have yet to find an adequate explanation for what they encountered. The now retired officers recounted the following statement surrounding the incident. "We were making our way back between Holsworthy and Hatherley when we saw this unusual bright light in the sky. We both registered that we'd seen something. It was something we couldn't logically account for. It was something that I hadn't seen before, I haven't seen since, and something that nobody can explain exactly what it was." The two officers described the craft as a bright object in the shape of a cross, hovering slightly above the height of the tree line roughly 40 meters from where their car was parked. Unsure of what action would be most appropriate to take, the two officers began to pursue the lights, which began to pulsate for about 15 minutes while flying away from their car, still following the path of the road at about the speed of 80 miles per hour. It was at this point that the officers got a clear look at the lights, only to notice that something was off about their appearance. The two officers both described that the lights seemed to have been continually out of focus of their eyes, and said that it was as if they were viewing this object through wet glass. Roger provided a later statement describing the lights as they followed them for this 15-minute period. He said the following: "My view of it was that it was moving slowly. It wasn't a star, it was bright, and it was white. If you look at glass which has got rain on, it was the same sort of inference. It was a splash. It was just eerie." As Roger and Clifford continued following the craft, according to their witness account, at about 4:23 in the morning, the cross was joined by a second flying object that appeared to join the shape. It was also at this point that a third witness would enter the scene, a man by the name of Mr. Christopher Garner, a local resident of Hatherley, who also began to follow the light while driving down the same road. According to Christopher Garner, he originally believed that he was stuck in some kind of trance as the object passed overhead, unsure of what was real and what wasn't, recounting that the entire experience left him questioning whether or not he was experiencing a nightmare. This nightmare would not last for very long, however, as after the distance of 14 miles were passed, the object would fade away and seem to disappear in an instant, with no sign of the lights or the cross being anywhere nearby. The sighting was believed to have lasted from 4 in the morning to about 5 in the morning. Unfortunately for the men involved, this would not mark the end of this strange and otherworldly incident. Shortly following their sighting, officers Roger and Clifford claimed to have been approached by the British Ministry of Defence for the purpose of an ongoing investigation into the unidentified aircraft phenomenon, as well as warning them about coming forward with their encounter. Roger would later provide the following comment to the BBC national media. "We were visited by a boffin from the Ministry of Defence, who told us that we were still officers under the Official Secrets Acts, and they would rather we kept it to ourselves. Fortunately for researchers interested in the unknown, this approach from the British Ministry of Defence would do very little to discourage Officer Roger, Clifford, and motorist Christopher Garner from going to the news media and reporting their encounter. When reports investigated the claims surrounding the strange intimidation tactic taken by the British Ministry of Defence, they would provide the explanation that they were doing their own research into the claims made by the three men and found them to be entirely baseless, providing the additional explanation that the sighting was nothing more than a misidentification of Venus in the sky. This explanation would be put into question, however, as throughout that same month, numerous additional sightings of a flying cross would be seen all throughout the Devon region. Additionally, during the late 2000s, slowly released documents from the British National Archives would tell a different story, when unclassified documents would be uncovered surrounding the Devon flying cross encounter, believing the sighting to have been a genuine mysterious aircraft, directly contradicting the public statement made by the Ministry of Defence during 1967 surrounding the incident. NASA's chief Bill Nelson has said that NASA continues its search for life in the universe. NASA has been at the forefront of space exploration, sending humans into space and launching probes to the edges of our solar system. Each year we learn new things about the universe that we live in, helping us to better understand what could be out there. Interestingly, Bill Nelson has been vocal about mysterious aircrafts and has shown a continued interest in their capabilities and where they're coming from. One of the most recent announcements to come from them was that national security agencies are well aware of these objects, but noted that as each new report comes in, new questions are raised, and the majority of the time these questions never get answered. These national security agencies have admitted that many of these aircrafts seem to have the ability to perform maneuvers that are highly advanced. According to one study that was released by top intelligence officials, they reported that in total, over 500 unidentified aircrafts had been observed in protected airspace or near sensitive facilities. The report was submitted to United States officials, and those in Congress and also the Director of National Intelligence have said that further studies are needed and that we need to better understand what these aircrafts are. One of the positives that comes from these reports is there's been a reduced stigma. For years, anyone showing interest in this topic would usually be dismissed, but because high-up military officials, soldiers, pilots, and former intelligence members have come forward with their testimonies, the topic has since been taken more seriously, and now even NASA is getting involved in these studies, saying that they are working with military officials to help aid where they can. Due to the amount of sightings that are reported every year, along with the hundreds of thousands of declassified documents that have been submitted by government officials, it's led some to say that perhaps this whole time, intelligent life has been right under our noses. Mysterious aircrafts have long been a hot topic, with some believing that the crafts are genuine, while others have said that they can be easily explained as everyday things like planes and military aircrafts. Ideas for what these are range from advanced crafts sent from other worlds, advanced probes that may be looking out for other life forms, or even that these things are forms of higher intelligence, and that as of right now we can't understand their workings. Bill Nelson, who is NASA's newest administrator, has said that he wants to get to the bottom of what these things are, saying that NASA will actively research this topic in order to help give a definitive answer for what they are. He openly said that the reports by military officials have caught the interest of scientists worldwide, and that their goal is to try and further research this topic in order to better understand what eyewitnesses have been seeing. These comments have divided people. NASA has never been open to the idea of mysterious aircrafts, actively going out of its way to shoot down any ideas that these crafts are genuine, which has frustrated those who have looked into the phenomena. But some have said that this could be a good chance for the company to be more open-minded about this topic, with many saying that it's clear that something is going on, noting that military pilots have been encountering these aircrafts for years now, and that it's only been in the last few years that people are starting to open up to the idea of these aircrafts being genuine. Recent reports showed us that out of hundreds of sightings of mysterious aircrafts that were reported by pilots, only one of these could be explained. It's due to this that people are hoping that NASA can shine a light on what these things are, and that it may usher us into a new era where we become more open-minded. Those who are heavily invested in the topic have said that it's good that a high-up NASA official has acknowledged these aircrafts and hope that we can get an answer in the near future for what these things are. Bill Nelson said the following about the sightings made by United States Navy pilots. I have received the classified version as well. I've seen the report. It said basically what we thought, and that's that we don't know the answer for what those Navy pilots saw, and those Navy pilots knew that they saw something. They tracked it, locked their radar onto it, and they followed it. It would suddenly move from one location to another, and what the report does tell us is that there's been over 140 of these sightings. So naturally, what I ask our scientists to do is to see if there's any kind of explanation from a scientific point of view, and as of right now, I'm waiting for their report. He was then asked about his feelings about what he thought they were, and if he could explain them. He said the following. I talked to the Navy pilots when we were briefed in the Senate Armed Services Committee, and my feeling is that there is clearly something there. It may not necessarily be an extraterrestrial, but if it's a technology that some of our adversaries have, then we better be concerned. When it comes to the universe, it's so large that we have a program in NASA called the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, but thus far, we don't have any receipt of communication from something that would be intelligent. The next question the reporter asked Bill Nelson was, do you think this report is just going to create more anxiety and theories around this topic? People want an explanation, and people want to know what these things are. He responded with the following. Ever since the Navy pilot video came out, people are hungry to know, and they want to know what's out there in the cosmos. Are we alone? Personally, I don't think that we are. The universe is so big, it's 13.5 billion years ago when the universe started, but people are hungry for this kind of information, and we're going to keep on searching. Many people found these comments interesting, as NASA hasn't really been vocal about the topic of mysterious crafts, and when they have been asked questions, they usually just shut them down immediately. But people gave praise to Bill Nelson as it came across that he has a much more open mind. One of the things that people picked up on was the fact that he said the United States is very advanced and that he doesn't think that other countries have this type of technology. The question then put forward is, who owns these things? If the biggest powerhouse on the planet has admitted that it isn't them, and even officials are saying that they don't have this type of technology, then who do they belong to? One of the issues with this is that there's many different theories floating around at the moment, and people have found it strange how these officials are suddenly changing their tune. After all, governments and space agencies have never been vocal about these mysterious crafts, but all of a sudden they are claiming that they don't know what these objects are. There's some who speculated that it's got to the point that they have to be honest, while others have said that they may have a motive of their own, with some noting that whenever this topic gets brought up, it's shortly followed by the military asking for a much bigger budget. NASA is still prioritizing their missions, which look for signs of life. Going back, NASA's then chief scientist Ellen Stofan claimed that by 2025, scientists will most likely discover prominent signs of life somewhere in the universe, saying that all of the data that NASA have gathered point towards us making a big discovery sometime in the near future. This announcement was made while she was speaking at a panel discussion, which heavily focused on NASA's search for habitable worlds. She said the following, I think we're going to have strong indications of life beyond Earth within a decade, and I think we're going to have definitive evidence within 20 to 30 years. We know where to look. We know how to look. In most cases, we have the technology, and we're on a path to implementing it, and so I think we're definitely on the road. NASA's Space Telescope was retired in 2018, but during its mission, it revealed to scientists that pretty much every star in the sky hosts planets, many of which could have similar conditions to Earth. Just because other planets aren't as similar to Earth, though, it doesn't mean that they can't host life. Researchers have been open about this discussion and have said that when it comes to the universe, it could be filled with weird and wonderful life forms, many of which may not look like anything that we have here on Earth. Paul Hertz, who is director of NASA's Astrophysics Division, described the Milky Way galaxy as being a soggy place. He said the following, We can see water in the interstellar clouds from which planetary systems and stellar systems form. We can see water in the disks of debris that are going to become planetary systems around other stars, and we can even see comets being dissipated in other solar systems as their star evaporates them. Scientists have now said that we should be focusing on exoplanets. Many of these exoplanets that have been detected are planets with thick and heavy atmospheres that are abundant with hydrogen, which allows for oceans to exist and flourish even under immense amounts of heat. This is the name given to the mini-Neptunes that match the description of potential life-having planets. These planets tend to be fully composed of water with no continents, and often have permanent mist rising from the heated waters. Further research into exoplanets may reveal the truth to us within the next handful of years, as we develop and establish what we truly mean by habitable. Another scientist from the University of Montreal claims that we, as a species, have far too high expectations, saying that there may be other ways of finding other life that are not dinosaurs crawling around on the surface. Even though it is not the easiest thing to do, these mini-Neptunes can be tested. There are countless mini-Neptunes in space, and based on their positions and surroundings, we will be able to correctly guess whether they have a chance at being habitable or not. According to scientists, even if only 5% of the mini-Neptune match the requirements, it would still give scientists an incredible number of planets to investigate. Dr. Niku Madasun from Cambridge's Institute of Astronomy said the following: "This result greatly expands our chances of finding life. By using the host star, astronomers are able to estimate the mass of an exoplanet to determine whether it is made of gas or rock, but it is near impossible to determine whether it has a solid or gas core. However, in 2019, thanks to the Hubble Space Telescope, astronomers were able to glimpse into the atmosphere of K2-18b, one of these mini-Neptunes, and discovered evidence of clouds and water vapor. Furthermore, just recently it was announced that there is a possibility that one of these planets could have enough water to sustain earthly life." In Dr. Niku's words, "For the first time, we demonstrated that planets can be significantly larger than Earth and still have livable conditions. The desired outcome for astronomers is to find an Earth-like planet on which we could thrive, to find the ideal Earth twin, which unfortunately is much easier said than done, considering this planet would have to be around the same mass as Earth, the same size, orbit, and neither too far from the host star, as the oceans would freeze, or too close for the oceans would boil. While exoplanets in the cosmos could surely have Earth-like life on them, scientists have stated it is best not to assume that these planets' conditions will be suitable for humans. Currently, the task is to find alien life, not to find another suitable habitat for ourselves. These mini-Neptunes are an in-between being a gas giant and a dwarf, small versions of our huge icy planets. Unfortunately, as mini-Neptunes are far from us, we have not yet developed a way to study them up close, thus shrouding them in mystery. In each passing year, numerous captivating discoveries have continued to emerge, showcasing the vast extent of our yet unexplored knowledge. One particularly intriguing revelation that gained significant attention was the circulation of a photograph on social media. The image depicted a perplexing sight, an apparent ancient stargate ingeniously concealed within the depths of a towering mountain. This captivating finding not only piques our curiosity, but also serves as a reminder of the profound mysteries that still lie hidden within unexplored areas. Scientists and researchers do not support the existence of stargates in the literal sense, since there is a lack of empirical evidence validating their existence. However, they do acknowledge that stargate-like devices were created by ancient cultures to foster a sense of proximity to their deities. These devices served as a means of communication, allowing individuals to establish contact with their gods. While the belief in physical stargates remains unsubstantiated, the understanding is that these devices symbolically represented a spiritual connection between ancient civilizations and their divine beings. This comprehensive explanation delves deeply into the topic, providing a thorough analysis and enriching the understanding of stargates. It is reasonable to infer that the discovered object was a type of device, considering its location deep within a mountain. This aligns with the overarching idea of placing significant objects at high altitudes to foster a sense of connection between ancient civilizations and divine beings. Delving deeper into this concept, it is evident that positioning objects in elevated areas was done intentionally to create a profound connection with the celestial realm. According to one user's statement, upon observing the outer rings of the structure, it becomes apparent that its appearance defies the characteristics typically associated with natural formations. Rather, It resembles something that one might expect to find within the remnants of an ancient civilization that had long ceased to exist. An interesting and peculiar aspect of this structure is its location embedded within the side of a mountain, adding further intrigue to its origins and purpose. A significant scarcity of information has been disclosed regarding the discovery, and it is crucial to acknowledge that scientists have asserted that an astonishing 98% of humanity's past remains shrouded in mystery, with numerous civilizations having risen and fallen during this enigmatic era, most of which remain completely unknown to us. The passage of countless eons has profoundly altered the face of our planet, leading us to consider the possibility that remnants of these lost civilizations may lie hidden beneath the Earth's surface or submerged deep within the vast expanses of our oceans. Throughout human history, the night sky has ignited our imagination with the distant twinkling lights of stars and galaxies. The concept of stargates, inspired by science fiction and speculative theories, has captured our fascination as a potential means of traversing vast cosmic distances and exploring the mysteries of the universe. The concept of stargates has been popularized by science fiction. While science fiction often takes liberties with scientific accuracy, it can serve as a starting point for exploring more grounded theoretical possibilities. Wormholes, hypothetical passages through space-time, form the theoretical basis for stargates. They are often depicted as tunnels that connect distant regions of the universe, allowing for faster-than-light travel between 2 points. These wormholes are inspired by the solutions to Einstein's equations of general relativity, known as Einstein-Rosen bridges. In theory, a traversable wormhole could be stabilized by exotic matter with negative energy density, which counteracts the gravitational forces that would otherwise cause the wormhole to collapse. However, the nature and properties of exotic matter are still speculative and have not been observed or fully understood. The concept of stargates, while captivating, presents significant challenges and paradoxes that must be addressed. One of the most notable challenges is the need for exotic matter with negative energy density to stabilize and maintain a traversable wormhole. This exotic matter's properties remain largely speculative, and the existence of such matter is still unproven. Additionally, the potential for causality violations and paradoxes arises when considering time travel through stargates. The famous grandfather paradox, in which a person travels back in time and prevents their own grandparents from meeting, highlights the complexities and contradictions that time travel can introduce. While stargates remain largely within the realm of speculative physics, scientific exploration does include investigations into the theoretical underpinnings of wormholes and their potential feasibility. Researchers continue to explore the mathematical and theoretical aspects of wormholes, seeking to understand their implications for space-time and the laws of physics. However, the current state of knowledge and technology is far from being able to construct or utilize stargates for practical interstellar travel. The energy requirements, stability concerns, and lack of a comprehensive understanding of exotic matter pose significant obstacles. The idea of stargates, even as a theoretical concept, has broader implications for the future of space exploration. While physical stargates as depicted in science fiction may remain a distant possibility, the concepts of wormholes and space-time manipulation have inspired discussions about potential breakthroughs in propulsion systems and interstellar travel. Research into stargates has the potential to advance our understanding of fundamental physics, including the nature of space-time and the properties of exotic matter. While the practical realization of stargates may be speculative, the exploration of these ideas can push the boundaries of human knowledge and lead to unforeseen discoveries. The landscapes of our planet are dotted with awe-inspiring ancient structures that continue to captivate our imagination and challenge our understanding of history. Among these enigmatic feats of architecture are megalithic structures perched on the summits of mountains. These ancient civilizations, driven by spirituality, technology, and cultural significance, built these structures atop lofty peaks, leaving behind enduring mysteries that beckon us to unravel their secrets. The choice to construct megalithic structures atop mountains was far from arbitrary. Rather, it was laden with profound symbolism and spiritual significance. For many ancient cultures, mountains were considered sacred realms that connected the earthly and divine realms. The elevation above the surrounding landscape symbolized a closer proximity to the gods or cosmic forces. The colossal effort required to transport and assemble the massive stones conveyed the dedication and reverence these civilizations held for their deities or cosmic beliefs. The act of ascending to the mountaintop to engage with the divine likely held deep spiritual meaning, fostering a sense of humility, awe, and communion with the universe. The construction of megalithic structures on mountaintops showcased the remarkable engineering and organizational capabilities of ancient civilizations. These structures were often composed of massive stones, some weighing several tons, requiring advanced methods of quarrying, transportation, and precision placement. Megalithic construction often involved intricate interlocking techniques, such as dovetailing, where stones were shaped to fit seamlessly together without the use of mortar. The ingenuity behind these methods remains a testament to the knowledge and skills possessed by these civilizations. The creation of megalithic structures on mountaintops was deeply intertwined with the cultural beliefs and practices of ancient societies. The alignment of these structures with celestial events, such as solstices or equinoxes, suggests that they may have been used as celestial observatories or markers for agricultural cycles. In some instances, these mountaintop structures served as burial sites for revered individuals or leaders. The lofty elevation and commanding presence of these structures could have symbolized the eternal connection between the deceased and the heavens. The decision to build megalithic structures on mountaintops was not without its challenges. Ancient civilizations had to overcome geographical obstacles, harsh climates, and logistical difficulties to transport heavy materials to these remote locations. The mastery displayed in overcoming these challenges underscores the significance attached to these structures and the cultural determination of these civilizations. Several theories have emerged to explain the rationale behind constructing megalithic structures on mountaintops. One theory posits that these structures were constructed as a means of protection, with the elevated position providing a strategic advantage against potential invaders. However, the sheer size and ceremonial aspects of many of these structures suggest that their primary purpose went beyond mere defense. Another theory suggests that these structures were constructed to serve as beacons or markers for travelers navigating vast landscapes. The sight of these towering structures would provide guidance and orientation to those journeying through unfamiliar terrain. The preservation of megalithic structures atop mountains often defies the ravages of time and the elements. The isolated and elevated locations of these structures, shielded from urban development and modern construction, contribute to their longevity. This preservation allows contemporary generations to marvel at the ingenuity and vision of ancient civilizations. The mystique surrounding these structures fuels curiosity and speculation. Their remote locations and the limited historical records from the eras in which they were built leave room for interpretation and imagination. As our knowledge of history continues to evolve, new discoveries may shed light on the motivations, practices, and significance of these structures. The annals of history are filled with stories of triumphs, failures, innovations, and revolutions. Yet, beneath the surface, there lies a vast expanse of uncharted territory, a void where 95% or more of history remains shrouded in mystery, hidden from our view. The scarcity of historical records and the fragmented nature of surviving artifacts leave us with a gaping hole in our understanding of the past. The scarcity of historical records is attributed to a multitude of factors, each contributing to the enigma of missing history. The ancient world was often characterized by oral traditions and perishable materials, which made it challenging for narratives to endure across generations. Papyrus, parchment, and paper, although used for writing, were susceptible to decay, fire, and the ravages of time. Conflict, conquest, and the deliberate destruction of knowledge further contributed to the gaps in our historical record. Libraries and cultural repositories have been lost to war, conquests, and ideological purges. The deliberate suppression of narratives, be it for political, religious, or cultural reasons, has led to the erasure of perspectives that once existed. The historical record has often favored the powerful, the wealthy, and the dominant cultures. The stories of marginalized communities, women, and indigenous peoples have been pushed to the periphery, leading to an incomplete and skewed understanding of the past. Voices that held equal significance but lacked prominence were often ignored or silenced. Archaeological discoveries, although invaluable, have also been influenced by cultural biases. Some artifacts and historical sites have been overlooked due to a lack of understanding of their cultural or spiritual significance by outsiders. Even when records exist, the challenge of deciphering ancient scripts, languages, and symbolism presents formidable barriers. Historical texts might be written in scripts that are no longer decipherable, or languages that have long faded into obscurity. The challenge of interpreting the context, nuances, and intentions of the authors complicates our efforts to piece together the narrative of the past. Furthermore, the survival of artifacts is not guaranteed. Natural disasters, looting, and time itself contribute to the fragmentation and loss of historical materials. A single artifact, when separated from its context, can leave gaps in our understanding, leading to misconceptions or incomplete narratives. The missing history casts a shadow over our understanding of the human experience. The vast stretches of unrecorded time leave us with questions about the daily lives, cultures, innovations, and struggles of countless generations. The erasure of certain voices and narratives leaves us with a distorted view of the complexity of human societies. The missing history also undermines our ability to trace the evolution of ideas, technologies, and social systems. Our comprehension of the roots of contemporary challenges and the paths taken by previous civilizations is hindered by the absence of their experiences and decisions. Efforts to reclaim the missing history are a testament to human determination and technological advancements. Archaeological discoveries, historical linguistics, and interdisciplinary collaborations have led to groundbreaking insights. The decipherment of the Rosetta Stone, for example, unlocked the secrets of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, allowing us to access previously impenetrable texts. Advancements in imaging, digital preservation, and artificial intelligence have enabled researchers to reconstruct documents and artifacts that were once deemed irretrievably lost. High-resolution imaging techniques, multispectral imaging, and virtual reconstructions have breathed new life into the pages of antiquity. The universe, with its vast expanse and myriad galaxies, has long beckoned humanity to ponder the existence of advanced civilizations beyond our own. The search for advanced life and intelligent beings has captivated the minds of scientists, philosophers, and enthusiasts alike. Advanced civilizations, often referred to as Type 2, Type 3, or even Type 4 civilizations on the Kardashev scale, are hypothetical societies that have achieved levels of technological advancement far beyond our current capabilities. These civilizations could harness energy from sources such as stars, control weather patterns, manipulate matter at atomic and subatomic levels, and potentially even traverse between galaxies. One hallmark of advanced civilizations is their ability to overcome resource limitations and environmental challenges. They may have developed sustainable energy sources and technologies that reduce their impact on their home planet. The pursuit of knowledge, scientific curiosity, and the ability to manipulate fundamental forces could be defining aspects of their culture. The search for advanced civilizations extends beyond traditional scientific methods. Technological advancements have enabled the exploration of outer space through radio telescopes, space probes, and the study of exoplanets. The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence initiative seeks to detect potential signals or communications from intelligent beings. Moreover, the search encompasses the study of cosmic phenomena that might indicate the presence of advanced civilizations. Dyson spheres, megastructures that could encapsulate a star to harness its energy, and the study of anomalous cosmic objects are avenues through which scientists probe the potential existence of advanced societies. The discovery of advanced civilizations would be a watershed moment in human history, with profound implications for science, philosophy, and society as a whole. The knowledge that we are not alone in the universe could challenge our understanding of human uniqueness and spur a re-evaluation of our place in the cosmos. Advanced civilizations could serve as beacons of inspiration, offering insights into the possibilities of technological innovation, sustainable development, and cultural evolution. Their wisdom and knowledge might help us tackle global challenges such as climate change, energy scarcity, and interstellar travel. However, the discovery could also raise ethical dilemmas and uncertainties. Interacting with advanced civilizations might require careful consideration to prevent unintended consequences, ensure mutual respect, and safeguard our own interests. It could prompt discussions about sharing knowledge, resources, and even cooperating on cosmic endeavors. The apparent absence of conclusive evidence for advanced civilizations, despite the vast number of potentially habitable planets in the universe, gives rise to the Fermi paradox. One explanation is the rare Earth hypothesis, suggesting that the conditions required for complex life and intelligent civilizations are exceedingly rare. Another possibility is the Great Filter, proposing that there exists a monumental barrier that prevents civilizations from advancing to the point of becoming detectable or widespread. Moreover, the concept of a zoo hypothesis proposes that advanced civilizations intentionally avoid contacting or revealing themselves to younger, less advanced societies to allow for their natural development. The discovery of a galactic community observing a non-interference policy could provide insights into the silence in our search for advanced life. Contemplating the existence of advanced civilizations invites us to reflect on our own progress as a species. It prompts us to consider the challenges we face, the trajectory of our technological advancements, and the responsibilities that come with acquiring greater knowledge and power. The pursuit of knowledge and the desire to connect with other potential civilizations underscore the human spirit of curiosity and exploration. As we strive to better understand the universe, we also engage in self-exploration, examining the qualities that define us as sentient beings capable of understanding the cosmos.
Physicist claims alien messages may be hidden in the stars. Everyone has at some point wondered about the possibility of life outside of Earth. It is nearly impossible not to when gazing into the empty, never-ending space above us, counting the stars. With space being so vast and seemingly endless, many wonder how or why we have not yet contacted extraterrestrial life. This phenomenon has been named the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox refers to the confusing contradiction between the complete lack of evidence for extraterrestrial life and the seemingly high probability of their existence. Some scientists believe they have the solution to explain why we have not made any contact with aliens. Terry Rudolph, a quantum physicist at the Imperial College London, suggests that aliens have been attempting to communicate with us through the stars themselves. Rudolph speculates that if aliens were to communicate vast distances, they would likely attempt to do so in more subtle ways, as to direct any communication to one planet without interference from other extraterrestrial life. As a result, a possible method of communication would be through the stars. He further explains his hypothesis by stating that aliens could potentially manipulate the photons inside individual stars to alter the light emitted from them. This fluctuation in the light of a star could be translated if we could uncover the code. Rudolph postulates photons can propagate billions of light years and retain significant quantum coherence. This makes stars a reliable resource for communication and allows for messages to be sent across extremely long distances without disturbance. He believes that this method of communication could be appealing to an alien population if they are aware of other alien populations that pose a threat. So how can we translate these messages? As an extensively educated physicist, Rudolph feels confident in the possibility of this theory. However, he does not claim that aliens are communicating in this manner, rather that it is possible. If his theory were true, it still leaves one crucial issue. We have no way of translating messages in the stars. If aliens were utilizing this method, they would need to provide us with some form of a decoder to allow us to understand any of their messages. Until then, surely it remains a mystery. Telescopes detect the biggest explosion since the Big Bang. In a recent development, astronomers have discovered the largest explosion since the Big Bang. The explosion resulting from a massive black hole occurred at the center of the Ophiuchus galaxy, about 390 million light-years away. This blast is not just speculation from eager scientists. NASA was able to confirm the blast because the radio data and X-rays matched each other. and low-frequency radio telescopes found that the cavity was filled with radioplasma. While scientists have long been interested in the Ophiuchus galaxy due to its strange curved edge, there had been plenty of doubt about if this curve could have been caused by a black hole. Black holes can release vast amounts of material and energy as radio jets that collide with other objects in the locality. Despite the black hole theory, many astronomers actually believed that the cavity was too big to be a black hole. The team who discovered this incredible event are researchers at the International Centre for Radio Astronomy Research in Western Australia. The team used 4 telescopes for their work, each stationed in different parts of the world, including the European Space Agency's XMM Newton X-ray Space Observatory and NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory. The explosion was so large that it cut through the hot gas that surrounds black holes, called cluster plasma. According to Melanie Johnson-Hollett, a professor at Curtin University and co-author of the research paper, we've seen outbursts in the centers of galaxies before, but this one is really, really massive, and we don't know why it's so big. The nature of this massive explosion has drawn comparisons to another destructive, large explosion right here on Earth, the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, which destroyed about 200 square miles of wilderness. Despite these comparisons, the crater the eruption created could fit 15 Milky Way galaxies in a row. Another interesting aspect of this explosion is just how slow it occurred. According to Johnston-Hollett, the explosion looked as if it had been slowly happening over hundreds of millions of years. Excitingly, this discovery may have made it possible to find more outbursts in the future. Astronomers are now able to use low-frequency radio telescopes that may make it possible to discover more explosions like this one. Strange infrared light emitting from a pulsar. The cosmos is a thing of awe, horror, and fascination. Space has been the subject of speculation for aeons. Among some of the most questioned space-related topics, black holes and neutron stars have to be some of the most popular discussed topics due to how little we truly know about them or how they fit in the larger scheme of the universe. Recently, the Hubble Space Telescope has discovered something unsettling and intriguing. One neutron star has been caught displaying strange swirls of glowing infrared light. When a supernova explodes, it sometimes leaves behind neutron stars. Neutron stars are an estimated 1.4 times denser than our Sun, but only 12.4 miles in diameter. Space.com claims that at such an insane density, a teaspoon would weigh 1 billion tons. Occasionally, neutron stars spin at high speeds and release electromagnetic radiation, such as X-rays. These neutron stars are known as pulsars. RxJ 0806.4-4124 is the name of the neutron star emitting infrared light, and studying it might help develop our understanding of how neutron stars work. RX and 6 other X-ray pulsars near us, being 3,300 light-years away from Earth, are referred to by astronomers as the Magnificent Seven. The reason why these 7 stars are so extraordinary is that they burn intensely hot, hotter than they logically should, given the available energy at their disposal and their age. They also spin around at a slower rate than most other known pulsars. Bettina Posselt, a lead author of an astrological paper in the Astrophysical Journal, states, "We observed an extended area of infrared emissions around this neutron star, the total size of which translates into about 200 astronomical units, approximately 18 billion miles, at the assumed distance of the pulsar. Never before has a pulsar emitted infrared light, especially with such an insanely large signal. The emission is clearly above what the neutron star itself emits. It doesn't come from the neutron star alone." And though astronomers are frantically coming up with theories and suggestions, nothing can be proven just yet. We will have to observe and hope that we will be able to uncover the secrets of the pulsar RxJ 0806.4-4124. First ever documented tectonic activity on exoplanet. Exoplanets are extremely hard to see. Hidden by a bright light that glares from the stars they orbit, exoplanets are basically classified as anything that orbits a larger star like Earth. In a new report submitted by the University of Bern, scientists found that the night side of an exoplanet called LHS 3844b is tectonically active. This exoplanet, which orbits the red dwarf star LHS 3844, was detected by the Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite. Though its surface is comparable to that of Mercury, it is larger than Earth and orbits its parent star in 11 hours. Tobias Meyer, an astronomer of the university, mentioned the huge variance of temperatures. We thought that such a large temperature difference could affect the flow of matter inside the planet. The temperatures being referenced to are degrees upwards of 800 degrees Celsius on the sun's side and below -25 Celsius on the night side. Similar to the activity seen in Hawaii and Iceland's volcanic areas, researchers witnessed the swelling of material on one side of the planet. They determined this swelling could cause activity across the hemisphere. While they believe that one side of this exoplanet has a great deal of volcanic activity, the other side of the mysterious planet seems to have none at all. This type of tectonic activity documentation, however, is a first. Until now, we have only seen volcanoes of this nature grow in areas on Earth. How many more tectonically active stars and planets could be in our atmosphere? We are excited to keep following along and find out. Scientists are realizing that a mysterious, fast radio burst from space looks strangely familiar. In the galaxy M81, 12 million light-years away, scientists saw strange, bright flashes that are drawing up memories from flashes found in the Crab Nebula. The Crab Nebula is a famous remnant of an old supernova that humans witnessed all the way back in 1054 AD. Those flashes, now known as repeating fast radio bursts, or FRBs, were seen by multiple different cultures, such as Chinese astronomers who saw the star above the southern horn of Taurus, as well as Arab and Japanese astronomers. The flashes remained brightly shining for 23 days and were 6 times brighter than Venus, according to the astronomers at the time. It took 700 years for the star remnant to be spotted by telescope by John Bevis, a British astronomer. Famous astronomer Charles Messier even found the star 27 years later and included it in his catalogue of Messier objects. Then, another 200 years later, in the 1960s, astronomers detected a fluctuating radio source where the Crab Nebula lies and determined that the signal came from a pulsar or a neutron star with a strong magnetic field. Now, the flashes that were recently detected by scientists are being compared to those witnessed 1,000 years ago. According to Kenzie Ninmo, a PhD student in astronomy, some of the signals we measured are short and extremely powerful, in just the same way as some signals from the Crab pulsar. Astronomers are still trying to figure out the nature of fast radio bursts because where they were found is quite peculiar. Usually, FRBs are found in galaxies abundant with young stars, but the radio dishes pointed the signal's source to a group of old stars called a globular cluster. The source of the signal challenges the idea that magnetars, the strongest magnets in the universe and a type of supernova remnant, are responsible for FRBs. This is because the explanation works well when young stars are abundant, but when there is a substantial number of old stars, as is true for galaxy M81, the explanation begins to make less sense. Some astronomers, however, believe it's possible that the magnetar was created by a white dwarf that pulled gas away from another nearby star. The added mass may have caused the dwarf star to turn into a magnetar. Whatever the explanation of the fast radio bursts in M81, astronomers believe there is definitely something strange going on. As time passes, hopefully, answers begin to come in. Asteroid impacts may spread life to other planets. Extraterrestrial life is something that has undoubtedly piqued everyone's interest at some point during their lifetime. Computer simulations now seem to suggest that microbes within rocks, fired from Earth, could possibly last long enough in space for them to research other places and planets within our solar system. Meaning there is the possibility that we may be sending life to other planets unintentionally. The study has been submitted for publication in the journal Icarus and presents a new perspective on the panspermia hypothesis. The panspermia hypothesis suggests that there is life out there in the universe, and that life is moved or distributed through space via meteoroids, asteroids, comets, planetoids, and similar astronomical phenomena. This is purely a theoretical concept, as we do not have a way to test it. However, some are suggesting that Earth is indeed playing a role in this. Scientists such as Mauricio Reyes-Ruiz from the National Autonomous University of Mexico used computer modeling to demonstrate the impact of an asteroid or comet hitting Earth. The idea is that with enough velocity, there would be so much debris released upon the impact that it would be kicked up into space. The research team found that, dependent upon the velocity and whereabouts on the planet it hit, the debris could reach to the orbits of the Moon, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and possibly even further. Their computer model only considered 30,000 years, as this means that any radiation damage could be taken into consideration, though this still means there could be a large amount of matter from Earth containing live bacteria in space. Planetary scientist Dr. Simon O'Toole from the Australian Astronomical Observatory said that the advances in computing technology are truly what facilitated this discovery. He said, "In the past, we didn't have the processing capacity to carry out these simulations beyond the Moon or Venus. We do not know how long this bacteria could survive in space, but this is an active field of research. Even if they do not survive long, it's baffling to consider microbes from Earth in another planet's orbit." Physicists reveal aliens might use black holes as quantum computers. The Fermi paradox is the belief that if extraterrestrial beings really exist somewhere in the universe, there would be far more conclusive evidence that we currently have pointing to their presence. This particular paradox has plagued astronomers, cosmologists, researchers, and alien enthusiasts alike as they continue their search for any indication of advanced life in the universe. Many hold out hope that the lack of evidence does not necessitate the conclusion of its non-existence. Some alternative ideas and potential resolutions to this paradox also claim that there are many reasons why such evidence may be hard to find. Either the living organisms do not operate on a massive scale as may be necessary for there to be evidence of life left behind, or that there simply is not enough material used to result in evidence that could be detected. Another prevalent notion is that because the universe is so massive, there is a good chance that advanced civilizations and groups of extraterrestrial beings may simply be too engaged and involved in their own activities, or limited to specific regions, which makes them even less likely to be found. Just because we have not yet found evidence of aliens does not mean we can say with complete certainty that they absolutely do not exist. Now, an even more recent study is giving researchers another idea of why we might not be finding hard proof of aliens. The possibility that these extraterrestrial beings could be using black holes as some sort of quantum computer. What this means in terms of the search for life is that potential civilizations in the rest of the universe may be, on purpose or inadvertently, concealing their existence using highly advanced technology not entirely accessible to us on Earth. Quantum computing is much faster, better, and a huge improvement upon the technology we use in our everyday lives as digital computing. Quantum computing is also immune to decryption, meaning that its biggest strength lies in keeping information hidden and concealed. And because researchers have been seeking proof by means of radio messages, directed energy such as lasers or gravitational waves, among many others, the lack of evidence could be a direct result of the way black holes are potentially being used as quantum computers. This new theory is exciting because it poses a possible solution to the Fermi paradox, as well as potentially directing the efforts of researchers towards potentially better means of finding evidence of life in the universe. Asteroid Yugu made up of organic molecules that are building blocks of life. There is a prominent theory in the field of astronomy which maintains that all basic building blocks of life did not originally come from the Earth itself. In fact, it's argued that these organic molecules were delivered to the planet from outside to eventually land on its surface during its infancy. The organic molecules that make up the basic foundations for all life on Earth are a vast array of compounds containing a combination of the elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and other atoms. Such compounds are created by chemical reactions that do not need or use living organisms, but rather are the main underpinnings of all life. And now, evidence of these organic molecules or building blocks have been found within substances that come from outer space asteroids. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency spacecraft Hayabusa 2 was able to obtain samples from the asteroid Yugu and return those samples to Earth, where they were studied and broken down to their basics. This is an enormous undertaking and has moved researchers one step further to the confirmation that the theory about how life really came to exist on Earth may actually hold more truth than was originally believed. The sample contains several types of amino acids that are used by living organisms in order to build proteins essential to regulating chemical reactions and forming structures like hair or muscle. Even more incredible was the finding of organic prebiotic molecules that are usually formed in the presence of water. Aliphatic amines, carboxylic acid, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and nitrogen-containing heterocyclic compounds. The results of these studies are showing that the asteroid has similar compositions to meteorites in space, meteorites that have been known to have a higher exposure to water. Further information would clarify just how far this evidence goes, and what is lacking from these samples is a good indication of what researchers should keep looking for. Specifically, some of the resources that have been found in other carbon-rich asteroids are missing from these Yugu samples, sugars, and components of DNA and RNA. The research team suspects that the asteroid is not lacking, but rather that further studies deeper into the asteroid are necessary to locate these molecules. James Webb Telescope finds distant galaxies that shouldn't exist. The James Webb Space Telescope has by now been in space for over a year in its current mission. It has provided immense important information thus far, and now the telescope has discovered galaxies that simply should not exist. That is because these galaxies are too big, the stars within them too old, and these two details have shaken all previous notions of how the universe looked and operated in its earliest existence. What's more, these findings do not match earlier observations made by the telescope's predecessor, the Hubble Space Telescope. Two key elements of what the universe looked like in its youth have been compromised. First, the prior conclusion that the galaxies then were small and young, and second, that as a result of their size and age, their stars would burn blue. Now this seems to not be the case. When researchers received images from the James Webb Space Telescope, the last thing they expected to see were the big red galaxies with masses equaling that of the Milky Way. This is astounding because due to the way time and space works in the universe, these images of the galaxies should theoretically be far, far younger than ours. It's necessary to get further confirmation of what has been detected by the telescope and what the images are showing us. Just because it seems that these large red spots are older, larger galaxies doesn't necessarily mean they are. The truth of the matter is that because there are so many factors at play, particularly when acquiring data from so far away, both in distance and time, there are a lot of variables, such as the possibility that certain stars in the early universe might simply emit light in a way that is different to what we originally thought. What might seem like a galaxy could be a star shining in an unusual, never-before-seen manner. This is the complicated yet exciting thing about space, and we are constantly learning and evolving.